Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to pick up from Daf Daled Amud Beis. And Yetzer Hashem, we're going to try to get all the way till the end of Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Today's shir is being learned for Shlema, my mother Miriam Bas Sarah. Tanu Rabbanon. We learned in the Mishnah, Dine Mamoinais is Bishleisha. Zok the Gemara on the top of Hamad Aleph, Vim Haya Mumcha LeRabim, then Don Afilu Yechidi. However, since it says in the pasuk, the Rashi brings down Tzedek Tishbite, we're learning that Ein Kan Erev Parshius, which is the discussion of Elohim 3 times by Pikadon. So over there, it's clearly you need Gimel Dayanim. However, we're learning Ein Kan Erev Parshius. Therefore, as long as he's a Mumcha, he can do it as a Yachid. Amr Rav Nachman Kagoyna No, like me, Don Dine Mamoinois Biyechidi V'chein Rav Chia Kagoyna No. Don, Dine, Mamoinus, Bichidi, both of them said that they could be done as a Yachid. Ibailu, we have a shah in the Gemara, Kagoyna no, the Gamirno, that you're massive, he's a Tamachachim, he has a lot of knowledge. V'saverno, he knows how to handle. V'naktino, Rishusa, and he got Rishus from the Reish Galusa. In such a case, of a Loinaka Rishusa, Dine is Loidina. Maybe you need to have Rishus, is what's the Makab Patish. Idil Ma'afagav the Loinaka Rishusa, it's still going to be a good din, Dina. And the nafkamina is, if he made a bad din, can he get his money back or not? So Tashma, let's bring a raya that it is, even though he did not get Rishus from the Reish Galus, it's still going to work. The Marzuch Rav Nachman, Don Dina, Lamaisi made a din v'ta'ah, and he made a mistake. So also come there Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef said as follows, Amalei, in kiblucha alayu, if they accepted your psak, loise shalim. V'loi, then avad, you have to pay zil shalim. You have to pay them back because you made a mistake. So Shma Mina, the raya is that what? That the din is not going to be totally chayzer. All you have to do is pay alamai, kilokin, and rishusa, dina, it's taka good raya, Shma Mina. Amar Rav, hayman deboy lemeidan dina. Someone wants to do a din, v'itami voilim iftar, and he wants to get potter if he by mistake does the wrong psak, lishko rishusa mebei reish galusa, he has to go over to the reish galusa to get rishus. V'cheina mashmur lishko rishusa mebei reish galusa. Once he did a rishus, then you don't have to pay. Now pshita, the Gemara explains that in Bavel there was someone who's the reish galusa who's more powerful than what we have in Eretz Yisrael, who's the nasi, and we're going to bring a pasuk to show this. So it's pshita mahacha lahacha. In Bavel, once you got rishus, to another place in Bavel, it's not a problem to get you. Since you got rishus, you're potter. Umahasam lahasam Eretz Yisrael mahani. Umahacha lahasam, also from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, also helps because Bavel is stronger. Why? The hacha shave, it's like a shave, like a skeptic. Vahasam, he's only a mechaykik, he's like a legislator. Kedetanya, like we have them psukim la yasser shave it. They're using the lashon shave it mi Yehuda, which was in Bavel. Eila Rashi Gali Yoshev Bavel Sheroidenis Yisrael b'shevet, they're very tough, which is lashon shkarora. And the Rashi says the hefker bezdin hefker. However, it says the end of the pasuk, "Mechaykik mibein raglov," the person is going to have Tamid Chachamim as mibein raglov as a lashon doirais. So we're trying to show us Elu b'nei Vanov shel Hillel shel Lamden Torah mirab. So therefore, we clearly see that in Bavel you're a what? You are a Reish Galusa, and you're more stronger than Eretz Yisrael, which is only a nasi. So therefore, we have a Shaila Mahasam in Eretz Yisrael. Bavel, what's the halacha lahachamai? So Tashma, we're going to bring a raya that if you did not. If you only got Rishus in Bavel, it's not. If you only got Rishus in Eretz Yisrael, it's not going to help the Bavel. The Rabbi Chana Don Dina Lamaisa V'Tah. So Asim Ged Rav Chia Amalei says, Ikablucha Alayu Laisa Shalom, you don't have to pay. However, Viloi Zil Shalom, you have to go pay. For Rabbi Chana, he got Rishus have an okit. Shma Mina, that what Mahasim Lahacha from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel Loi Mahani Shma Mina. Correct, is this really true? Who's having a little argument with Reish Galusa and says, I don't need Rishus from you guys, Reish Galusa. Why? Because Naktino Rishusa Me'aba Mari. I got it from my father, Rabbi Mari got it from Rav. The Rav Chia got it from Rabbi. So you see clearly, he doesn't need Rishus from Reish Galusa, and therefore, why are we saying that it doesn't help the Rishus? And then the Gemara says, yes, very nice, he could talk all day. But Lamaisa wasn't helping. But he was saying that he got Rishus, but the reality is it doesn't change anything, and until he gets Rishus, it's not going to work. Now, what's the point of getting Rishus if it doesn't help either way? Mara answers it does help in certain Mekaimus, there in those Ayaris, which is on the border near Eretz Yisrael, then Rishus, the Eretz Yisrael, does help. So what is the Rishus you're getting, Zok the Gemara? My Rishus also, Kiavanachis, Rabbi Chana Lebavel, Amalei Reb Chia Rabbi ben Achi, Yoyer Lebavel. Reb Chia tells Rabbi, my nephew is going to Bavel, he said the son of my brother. So he asked him, Yaira, can he give halachas? And he said, yes, Yaira, he could paskin. Yadin, what a Yaira is a lashon, more of a isser of a heter, for example, treifus. What about Yadin, which is more in dinim amaynos? He says, yes, not a problem, Yadin. What about Yatir b'bechayras? Then in those days, there used to be, a person would be able to bring a carbon. But now that there's no Bais Medrash anymore, what happens regarding a bechar? You have the malach of a bechar. What you have to do is you have to wait till there's a mum. Once there's a mum kavua, then you rach, you starve, which you wait till there's a mum kavua. Once there's a mum kavua, you can shecht it. So the problem is you have to be a mumcha to see is it a mum kavua or not. So he says yes, it's not a problem. It can be matir b'chayrais. It's not a problem. Yatir. However, you have a nachas Rav lebavel. When Rav was going to Bavel, this was Rab Chia earlier. Here it's Rav Amalei Rab Chia Rabbi. Ben Achaisi, here he used the lashon of Achaisi. The Gemara is going to question it. Yair lebavel, and he asked him. Yair, he says yes, not a problem. Yair. What about dinim and minus? Yes, Yadin, it's not a problem. However, when it came to Yat b'chayros, the Gemara Amud Beis is going to talk about it. There we said that Rebbe cannot do for b'chayros al Yatir. So, for the Gemara, very simple question. Ma'ishna, why is it by Rabbi Rechano lemar de kakari ben achi? There, the lashon he clearly used was the lashon of his nephew. What's the chiluk? The what? Umayshno lemar, by Rabbi he used the lashon of his sister, my sister's son. The kakari ben achaisi. V'chitei mi hachav amaisi, going to tell me that what he wants. One's his nephew from his brother, and one's his nephew from his sister. And that's the Gemara of Amamar. Ayavoy v'chano v'shilo umarso v'Reb Chia kulu bnei Abba bar acho karsalo michafri avrit. Dahainu, what happened was, the Gemara is masber that what happened was Abraham was actually an almond. He was a widower. And he had a son Iva, and he married an Isha Almana, and she had a daughter. So it comes out they're really just step-siblings. There's no halacha to marry them. Now, Reb Chia was from the second marriage. He was a complete sibling. However, what happened was Ayava married his stepsister. There's no halacha to marry, there's no isser to marry his stepsister, and that's how Rav was born. So Rav's parents were step-siblings. So that the Gemara is explaining, that's what the Etzem Zok the Gemara, Rav Bar Achua Dahava was only Bar Achse. He was only the nephew. Rav Bar Achua Dahava, and he was also Bar Achse. He was his nephew from the brother and a nephew from the sister. However, Rav Bar Chana was only Bar Achva Dala Bar Achse. There was no sister involved. The reason why we're saying Rav, he called him Lashon Achaisai and not Rav Achanim, we use the Lashon Ach. The Chsev, it says in the Pasuk, Amar Lachachma. You say to the wisdom, Achaisi At, you are my sister. We're trying to bring out Rav. The Rav was a Baki B'Yaiser in Chachmor and Hayim Beis. Zok the Gemara, Yatir b'chayros al Yatir. We learned earlier when by Rabbi Chana, we questioned if he could do b'chayros. He said yes, not a problem. However, when it came to Rav, suddenly they questioned. He said no. When Rav tried to go to Bavel, he said al Yatir. So the Gemara, why not? What was the problem of getting Rishos to do what we explained for b'chayros, that you want to see if there's a mom kavua? Zoktumar, my time, Elam, you're going to tell him Mishum Delar Chakim Rav wasn't such a Chachmi, didn't understand that. Hakamrini, we just said a second ago, Shem Chachmasai, the Chakim Tuva. Allah, you're going to tell me Mishum Delar Bekia B'mumi. Maybe he didn't understand exactly what a mum was, and therefore that's the problem. That can be either. Zoktumar, V'amar Rav, Shmoyne Sechadashim. Rav says for 18 months, Gadalti, till Roya Behema, I used to be with the shepherds. Why? Leida Ezimum Kavua, the Ezimum Iver, to know if it's a good mum, or just a mom over which is going to pass. So Zok the Gemara, you know why we didn't do it for Rav? By not giving him Rishos, we're giving him more covet to Rav Chana. And the Rashbam Rashi says, Rav, have a nagi b'yikar b'lav hachi. Already got covered enough. Everyone knew how chashiv he was. Yes, Rav was a massive bucky. The Bekia b'mumi tfei. He was able to be mekel a lot more. It's not a kunst to be machmer. The kunst is to be mekel. V'shari mumi delayadi inchi. And he was able to say, this is a mum that's not over. Zok the Mora, it's a mukavur. And what happened was, v'amri k'ai gavna, people would make mistakes. They would say in such a case, k'ai gavna shor rav, asul mishri, mum over, and that's the problem. Zok the Mora, yaira. And he told him, yes, regarding dinei, It's a heter yair. So igam reshusa zok Gemara if he's a tamach chacham reshusa lama li lemishka. Why do you need reshus? You're a tamach chacham. I don't understand the problem getting reshus. Zok Gemara, you know why Tama needs a reshus? There was a ma'isa shahaya mishum ma'isa shahaya detanya pamachas halach Rabbi lamakam echad. Rabbi pulls up the place. Rabbi Adam, he sees people shemegavlin isaseyem betoma. They're kneading dough in Tumah de Kekalim. So he says, what's going on? So they answer these people, they said, you know why? What do you mean? There's a chashuv of Talmud of yours came. And he paskin for us, Meibitzam is more like swamp water, water from the marshes. And he says, it's not a problem, it can't be makabel tumah. Therefore, it's not a problem using this water. That's what we're doing. We're using the water from the swamps. Really what the Talmud was saying, May Beitzim, he was saying that using eggs is not a problem, Darshlu. Ve'inu, they heard Savar May Beitzam Ka'amar, therefore they made such a mistake. And we're going to see in a moment why you need Rishus to make sure that these Talmidim don't make such mistakes. They made another mistake regarding the Efer Hapara. Now, Efer Hapara needs to have Mayim Chaim Al Keli. You have to have good water. And therefore, what happened was there was a Maisa, Mei Kamer Yuna Mei Figa, Psulim B'nei Shehem, Mei B'tzon. Regarding Efer Hapara, it's not considered Mayim Chaim Al Keli. Therefore, it's not going to be good water for the Efer Hapara. They thought, just like the Chatas and the Gabe Chatas, just like regarding the Efer Hapara, it's Psili. Therefore, can't be Makabel Tama. Achshur Namala Machshri, V'lohi Hasam, Dafka Lenin Chatos. We have Mayim Chaim. El Keli Beinon, Aval Beina Mayim Chaim. Hacha, just a mitam Tuma, it's not a problem. It's Mekabel Tumach Shuri, Kolduhu Machshri. So what do they do? Tana! Ba'isa Shah Gazru Tamad Al Yairel Imke Natu Rishus Merabi. When he gets Rishus from his Rabbi, they make sure that the Talmidim are very clear, they say it out loud. You don't make such mistakes, whether using the Lashon Mei Beitzim, which is Mei Beitzim, or explaining the difference between Mayim Chaim El Keli regarding Efa Parah, etc. Zok the Gemara, Tanchom, Barei Derab Ami, Iklo Lachasi comes to this place in Darshul and he says as follows: Mutter lil size chitin b'Pesach. You let it soak chitin on Pesach. One hayam and base towards the bottom of the Amid. Amrullah, he says, how could you say that it's mutter? What's going on? Lav Ramani de Mitzor Ika Hachi. You have your Rebbe right here. And we know Vitanya. Talmud al Yaira Halachim b'Makim Rabbi. If your Rebbe is in town, you don't paskin. You say, go to my Rebbe. It's a bizarre to the Rebbe. Ela imkain, unless he's far. Hayirachik mimenu shleisha parsais. Where do we get the measurement of Gimel Parsa Keneged Machne Yisrael regarding Moshe Rabbeinu? We see that the Machne was Gimel Parsa. It was Gimel Parsa. So Amlu Lavadati, I Pasha didn't know. You're right, 100%. If I would have known, my Rebbe's here, Chas v'sholom, to give a bezayin, I would have said to go to my Rebbe. However, I Pasha did not know. He sees this person there who's a kohen. He knew he was a kohen. They have a kohen b'beis course. He starts saying, "What's going on? You're a kohen." Amalei lad ben ish pleni kohen. What do you mean? I know your father, and your father's a kohen. Amalei says with the krechs. He says, "Yes, in avua dahu gavra gavainaim hav." He's talking third person. He's saying, "Yes, this person's father wasn't able to watch himself on the shmiras enaim, and he saw a grusha, and he married her. Have a nasan eina begrusha. And the halacha is if a kohen marries a grusha, the kids are considered halalim, and therefore they don't have kedusha as kohen, and that's why he was in the basic kvaros v'chilul. Zok the Gemara. Now we're going to handle what we saw earlier on Amud Aleph that you had to get rishus. So you got rishus with three different concepts for halachas of iser v'heter, dinim and minus, and also regarding to be mater for the bechar. That to see if it's a mum kavur or mum oiver or not. So we clearly know that you could split it. That we saw Rabbi got earlier. What happened with Rabbi? He didn't get the schos to mount the b'chayers, and the Gemara explained why. So pshita lepalga that we could split it up. That you have rishos just to give, let's say, for example, dinim amoinis. Hakamar demahani, like we saw in the Amid. However, al tanai mai, what happens? Can I give a tanai that I'm giving you rishos for X amount of time, for 3 years, for example, 2-3 years, not more. So tashma damalei b'yechel Rav Shaman. Rav Shemin, Dahani was leaving, Rav Shemin was leaving Bavel, and he says, till you come back, there's not a problem, you have Rishus. Once you come back again and ask for Rishus. And that's, you clearly see that Tanai does help. Zok Tigmar Gufam Shmuel, Beis, Shedonu, Dinayim Din. This is the halacha of Shmuel, that even though we learned in the Mishnah, we mentioned we're going to go through Shmuel, Ham, and Beis. Shmuel's halacha is 2 dayanim. It's a good bezdin. They're considered bezdin chotzev because they're not going like the Tekana. Ela shenikra bezdin chotzev. This is Shita Shmuel. Yosef Rav Nachman become a lash maitzis. He was saying this halacha of Shmuel. Eitzvei Rav Rav Nachman. Afilu shnayim mizakin. The halacha is, even if you have two dayanim saying he's potter, for example. Shnayim mechayiv saying he's chayiv. Echad aimer, this is the punchline. Any adaya, I pasha don't know. So you really have three dayanim and one saying I don't know. The halacha is a sifa dayanim. You have to replace the dayan who says he doesn't know. So fact, Rav Nachman, and if the halacha of Shmuel is true, V'im Isa, if this is really true that it's a good bezdin two dayanim, lahavak shnayim shadanu. What's the problem? You Shmuel, you hold two dayanim work. So who cares that the third dayan says Eini Yedaya? And that the Gemara says it's different. Shani Hasam de Mikara Adaita de Tlasa Yasivi. Hachalav Adaita de Tlasa Yasivi. You can't compare a dayan that says Eini Yedaya when you pull up the bezdin of two, there it works. But once you pull up the bezdin of three, the second he says Eini Yedaya, you must replace it. Again, Eisvei Rav Nachman, Rav answer Nachman again from a different place. Rav Shimon Gamliel Aimer Hadin Bishleisha. The halacha is, we all know for Gimel dayanim you need to have three. You need to have for dinah, like we learned in the Mishnah's minimum is 3 dayanim. Pshara we're going to go extensively in the next daf. Pshara is bishnai. Ve'yafe koyach pshara mi koyach hadin. And pshara is more powerful. Why? Shishnaim shedonu ba'alei dinim yichayim lachzer b'hem. The halacha is you have 2 dayanim that give a din. You could go retract. V'shnaim sha'asu pshara. Ein ba'alei dinim yichayim lachzer b'hem. So again, the Kasha Rav is asking, you clearly see that Shnaim Shasu Pshara do not make the Shnaim Shasu Pshara there. The halacha is Baldin could retract. However, Shnaim that Shedonu the halacha is Baldin Yarchal Achzaben. The question is, according to you Shmuel, that hold that what 2 dayanim works. How in the world do you say Shnaim Shedonu you could be Chayzer? According to Shmuel, it's a regular bezdin. It might be a bezdin Chatzav. V'chitem, you're going to tell me Rabbanan Allah, v'pligi Rabbanan Allah, Rav Shimon Gamliel. Maybe you're going to tell me, okay, very nice. This is Rav Shimon Gamliel that holds. We're on Daf Lovim and off the top of the Amud, and very nice. You're going to tell me that what Shmuel holds that Rav Shimon Gamliel is the one who holds Enechanami that Shnaim Shadoni Yuchayin Lachza B'hem. But Rabbanan argue. That can be Zaktik Marvam or Ravavo says this is Rav's Kasha for Rav Nachman. Shnaim Shadonu L'Divrei Hakol Dinim Din, even according to Tanakama. So on that the Gemara says Gavra Karamis. What are you asking me? Who? Because Ravavo is the one that says the Divrei Hakol. Why is that a Kasha Shmuel could argue in Ravavo and say in a Chanami it's a Machlekes Rav Shimon Gamliel and Tanakama if Shnaim Shadonu Dineim Yechayim Lachzim according to Shmuel not according to Rav Shimon Gamliel yes. Zaktik Marvam on 3 lines from top of Vavam and Aleph. Gufa. Amar Rabavo, Shnaim Shadonu Dinem Amaris Divrei Hakol Ein Dinem Din. Eisvei Rabavo, Rab Abba Rabavo. Don is a din. The halacha is don, and the Rashi clearly says Yechidi Mashmas. You have one diet, and he says he paskins V'zikas Chayv Rachmana Litzlan. He made a mistake. The person should have been Chayv. He says he's potter, or the other way around. V'Chayv is a Zakai, or regarding let's say a chicken. You want to know if it's kosher. And tim is a tar, tir is a tamei masha asui. Whatever happened. Umeshale mi basis. So the kasha is you clearly see that one dayan masha asui. And the only way Zok Rashi alma dina diloi lahader dina lahader. If it's not a good din, then the stamazo you made a mistake. It was never a good bezdin. Elamai masha also shows us even one. So the kasha is, how could you tell me that Shmuel doesn't work? And that the Gemara answers no. There was chaluk. You accepted this one diet. What I have to pay? You accepted whatever I'm going to say. They tell him. Dayan Aslan, Din Tairo. We want to know what the halach is. I came to you with a chicken. I heard you have smicha. You're a chashav a rav, and lamaisi you messed up. I didn't ask you to paskin something that's not like la halacha. Therefore, he's chai. So the Gemara still questioned, what was his mistake? What was this dayan yachid? How did he err? The Mishnah Pasha just made a mistake. He didn't realize there's a Mishnah going on that says otherwise. What's shikol adas mean? Hey chidam shikol adas. So the Gemara Amar Papa could go in trade tonight or vitremeroy the pligi adadi. They have a machlekes light it my hochas like kamar. So it's not a black and white that the halacha paskin. However, sukkah the hama leave it the chaminayu. The halacha is everyone usually paskins like one tana or one amar. Va'azal ihu va'avat keidach. He went lafuke la'mais in such a case. Hainu shikol adas. In such a case, you're a chayv. Zok the Gemara, let's try to say this whole machlekes that we just learned, Rabavo and Shmuel and everybody, Lema Ketanoi, that we just said the Shmuel and Vo are arguing. That what? Bitzua b'shleisha. So it's very interesting. The lashon over here is bitzua. Bitzua, Rashi says pshara. Bitzua b'shleisha, divrei amer v'chachamim oimim pshara. So it's mamish repetitive. What's the chilek between using a lashon bitzua or a lashon pshara? So we said with Daf Yomi, they brought down some Scheiner that's explained that it's more of a, what is bitzua? Bitzua is a lashon b'tzei berach, more of a lashon gzeila. Compromise is maybe not the right thing. Very nice. We don't hold like that. We hold chachamim like taka. We always try to push a compromise. However, a mayor holds that bitzua is not a compromise. I'm losing out money. You put me in a situation that I have no choice. Therefore, it's somewhat of a gzeila. However, Rashi is very clear that it means the same thing. Don't get confused. Bitzua means a pshara. It's just a different lashon, like we're going to learn of b'tzei berach, that type of concept. So zok the Gemara, bitzua is b'shleisha divrei amer. V'chachamim oimrim, what a chachamim hold, it's a pshara. However, b'yachid, the chachamim oimrim pshara b'yachid. So v'u the kulama, that what makshina pshara l'din. That what's the machlekes, that we're doing a hekesh of pshara l'din. Ma'ilad b'hakamiflagi, there are mer holds the mar savar, din is b'shleisha. Umar savar shitach chachamim is din b'shnayim. So that's the machlekes if you push it. What do you hold the halach of din is? And that the Gemara says, "On who din echad avadin?" So the Gemara like the kula alma din b'shleisha. Everyone agrees you bet you need shleisha. So what's the machlekes if it works b'shnayim and not? V'hacha b'alka mifkli. The mar savar mer holds makshina pshara din, and just like din needs shleisha, who din pshara needs shleisha. Umar savar chachamim hold like makshina pshara din. Therefore, pshara is good enough. By yachid enechanami, din is going to need 3 dayanim. So zok the Gemara, lema klaso tanoi b'pshara. Let's try to say there's really a 3-way machlekes. There's Rameir holds b'shleisha. Reb Shimon Gamliel early we saw need shnayim, and now we have Rabbanan that argue on Rameir and hold b'yachid. That what the Mar Savar b'shleisha. Rameir holds a shleisha. Umar Savar Reb Shimon Gamliel holds it to shnayim. Umar Savar and Chacham hold b'yachid. And that's like the Gemara. The Bika v'Tem Rav Yema b'Shalamya. Man dama trei shitas Reb Shimon Gamliel that says you tell me trying to say it's a machlekes 3-way machlekes. Reb Shimon Gamliel holds shnayim. Afilu ncha nami. V'hayde kama trei. You know why he's using the law? Why didn't he trei then? Even if one works. Ki hechi de lahavu aleh sadi like that. It's going to help. That you're going to have 2 edim just to them to give edus of this a testimony. Omer Avashi. Shma mina pshara ain't a tzricha kinyan. Rashi wants to say that a pshara does not need a kinyan. If you're going to tell me you need a kinyan, why do you need gimel? Elamai, you don't need a kinyan because otherwise you would have 2 people. They could do a kinyan and goodbye. And that's Zok Gemara. Lamais, it's not true. V'hochasa Zok Gemara. Pshara needs a kinyan, tzricha kinyan, Zok Rashi, Vafilu nasis b'shleisha, it still needs a kinyan. Zok Gemara, Tana Rabbana, Kishem shadin b'shleisha, just like that we know that din is b'shleisha, kach bitzua, hu din pshara is b'shleisha. We're on the top of Vav Amud Beis. Now we're going to see multiple shitas. The first shita is shitas chacham, shitas tanakama is nigbar hadin. Rashi explains once they say that what? Ish ploina techayiv. In such a case, iyat Rashi levtzoya, you can never push a compromise. Zok Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, we're going to go with multiple shitas. We're ready after the second shitas. Hamash ben Kas Simin, Rabbi Lazar ben Yosef Yisek Lili Aimer. Asur levtzoya. Rabbi Lazar ben is the most machmir. He says not only that you're not supposed to push Rishos mitzvah, it's even asur to make a pshara levtzoya. V'chol ha-beitzaya, anybody that makes a compromise, ha-reizeh chayte. Someone who blesses out, the dayanim are good, these are good dayanim. They push compromise. Ha-reizeh menoitz is a lashon of mayred, a blasphemy against the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is what you're doing. The person that blesses, someone that compromises, is menaitz against the Rebbeinu Shalom. Ella, rather, what you should do is yikav adin asahar. There's judges, there's rules, and there's regulations. Let the Torah decide what the halacha is. Shenama, like it says, ki mishpat lele kemu. V'chein ma'isha ya'imer yikav adin asahar. But Aaron, we know it was Ayev Shalom, v'raidev Shalom. Umeisim Shalom ben Adam Chaver She'enem, like it says in the pasuk. Teiras emes haisa befiu ve'avla le'nimtza b'sfasav. Not a single avla b'shalom u'b'mishar, with shalom and uprightness halach iti v'rabim. And so many people were hashim of it. Okay, this is the second cheetah. We're up to the third cheetah. We're going to be talking about Beitzei Berach. We're trying to explain the concept of Beitzei Berach. This is the one we know very famous. That somebody that steals, imagine a person steals a saw chitim. He grinds up a fun, he bakes a hishman and challah. So now the shaila is, we all know on a freshest challah, what bracha do you make? Keitzad mevarich. And that's like the Gemara. Ain't zeh mevarich. We're going to make a bracha on something you stole. Ain't zeh mevarich elam anoyitz. Zeh namar. Ubeitzei Berach neitz Hashem. Like we just saw this recently in the Parsha Shenema Yom Yehuda Lachem. So what are we getting Kinar Gezachenu? What's a help to kill Yosef? The problem was that even though Yehuda was right, they say Yehuda, because once he realized that the brothers were listening to him, he should have pushed to take him back and not even sell him. Yom Shua ben Kach, which is the third cheetah. So far we saw Nigmar Din. We saw Belazar holds its Asr. Now we're going to see Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Shua ben Kach mitzvah litzah. He goes extreme and he says, not only that, Adarabba, you should push for Pshara Shenema, like it says in the pasuk. Emes u'mishpat shalom shaftu b'shareichem. Should have emes mishpat and shalom. So mishpat is more of a lashon din, and shalom is more of a pshara. But shaftu they should judge in their gates. V'aloi b'makom sheyesh mishpat in shalom, u'b'makom sheyesh shalom in mishpat. So how could you have mishpat and shalom? Ela ezu mishpat sheyesh b'shalom hava. I mean, you know what I'm going to say? Zeh bitzur. This is what we say. It's a pshara v'chem b'David. We find this by David u'ayme v'yi David oisem mishpat, which is also din v'tztaka. Same type of concept. Ain't tztaka v'tztaka in mishpat. Ela ezu mishpat sheyesh b'tztaka. You know what I'm going to say? Avi ayme zeh bitzur. Zot Gemara asan leTanakama. Tanakama is, we just saw the first shitas. Now we just saw the shitas earlier. That what Tanakama holds, it's asur litzah, which is shitas really Belazar ben Osher Rabbi Yosef Gluli. How is he going to learn the pasuk of David? The Ma'aseh David came from a clear pasuk. So how is he going to learn mishpat tzedakah? They hold that you should not make a pshara. It's asur. So Zot Gemara asan Tanakama donis adin. Zika says Zakai v'chayiv v'sechayiv re'ei, and he sees Lamaisa shenis chayiv ani moment. So what does he do? He feels very bad. Lamaisa, the ani was wrong, and he has to pay the usher. It's very sad. So what should he do? V'shilam lemitech beisa. Taka goes and he pulls out of his own money and pays him. Zeh mishpat v'tzedakah. He's a good dayan. The halacha is the halacha. However, he has rechmanis. Mishpat lezeh, that the usher is taka deserves his money. V'tzedakah lezeh. Mishpat lezeh she'echzel l'mammon. V'tzedakah lezeh she'shilam lemitech beisa. Taka can pay it back. They take it out. Maybe David is mishpat tzedakah l'chalamai. Mishpat lezeh she'echzel is m'maynoi. V'tzedakah lezeh she'shilam lemitech beisa. Over here they bring down that Rashal was meichik this. Okay. So the Gemara, the Rabbi had the shver. If you look at the pasuk, it clearly says in the pasuk regarding David, David oisem mishpat tzedakah. In the end of the pasuk Shmuel Beis, it says l'chol Amai, the whole nation. Zok the Gemara, the kasha l'Rabbi, Hai l'chol Amai. You tell me dafka la'aniyim mivoyle. El Rabbi Aima Afa Pisha Lo Shilei Mitach Beisa is a mishpat v'tzedakah. The mishpat lezeh v'tzedakah lezeh mishpat lezeh shehechzer lo m'maynoi v'tzedakah lezeh. That what? Shahitzik zeil mitachas yadei. Otherwise, Yitaka would have been chayiv. Zok the Gemara weiter. Shimon Nasi. We're going to see more shitas. Shimon Nasi Aimer Shnayim Shabol Lefenechel Adin. You have two people that come up to the din. Achaloi Sishmat V'rein. We're here. We're going to do psharis. Achaloi Sishmat V'rein. Before you hear what they have to say. Oi, Misha Tishma Devrein Miate Delechin Din Naiti. Taka don't know where it's going to go. Ata Rashai Loimer Lahen Tzu Bitzu. Then you could go tell them, go make a pshara. However, Misha Tishma Devrein. Once you hear both sides, the Yonim already know, they already see that it's going to go to a certain person. The halacha is, you're not allowed to go and push, go and make a compromise. Like it says in the pasuk, Poiter Mayim. Over here we're going to use the lashon, we're going to go through Poiter Mayim, this lashon of releasing water, we're going to use the word Mayim either for Torah or for Machlokes, etc. Over here we're going to use it for Machlokes. The Poiter Mayim, when you release the machlokes, it's reishis, madain, it's the beginning of the machlokes. However, v'lifnei, this is how they're playing with the words. V'lifnei is gala riv. Before the riv comes very clearly, it's revealed. Then the toish, you can run away. The you can make up sure you can abandon it. So Kaidim Shenis Galariv at the Yachol and Nacho, you could abandon them. Shenis Galariv, Iata Yachol, Lin Nacho. Vishlakashamano, Shnaim Shaboladin. What happens? You have two people come to Bezdin. Echad Rach, one's more of a soft guy. Vechakash, he's a very tough guy. And you're afraid of him a little. Before you even hear them, you don't know where it's going to head. Maybe Taka, the tough guy is going to be a putter. I can't deal with this. I already know what's going to happen. If Chas v'sholom I go against the guy who's very tough, he's going to go and do a schmear campaign. You see this a lot, Taka, with Gittin. It's very common when it's very powerful people. That's what happens. They go against the Dayanim and make schmear campaigns. He says, I'm not interested. Shenamar. Why? Shaman is chayiv chazak. V'nimtza chazak, right? So he's going to run after me. However, mishetishma dv'reyin. Once he heard both parties. Then you can't say I'm out. Why? Shenamar, like it says in the pasuk, loisa guru. You should not be afraid. Mipnei ish. Here we use the lashon afraid. Sometimes it means gather. Mipnei ish. Who over here is the ish? This tough guy. Don't be afraid of him. And you have to go what the halacha is. You have a Talmud, he's sitting down, he's watching the proceedings, and he sees that the Rebbe's making a mistake. Maybe he should stay quiet, he's only a Talmud. How do you know he shouldn't stay quiet? He should get up and defend this on Ishanema. Again, like the guru, you shouldn't withhold, you shouldn't stay quiet. Ish, here we're teaching Ish as a Rebbe, as your Rebbe. You shouldn't withhold your dvarim b'nei ish because you're Rebbe. The Eidim should know who are they testifying in front. Yodim is me and Meidim. Lifnei mihin Meidim miyasili fareya, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is in front of them. Shenema v'amdu shnei hanoshim. You have two people standing there. Asher lahem hariv lifnei Hashem. It's in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Zok the Gemara, v'yuadayonin yodim es mihin donim. Lifnei mihin donim yasili fareya ma'am shenema. It says in the pasuk, Elakim nitzav ba'adas kel v'goymer. If you look in the psukim, it says Bekerev Elakim yishbait. Zok the Gemara, v'yuadayonim yodim es mihin donim. It's a mistake on the thing and you're staring. Go ask the guy, please. V'yuadayonim yodim es mihin v'yuadayonim yodim es mihin donim. And you should go, and the Dayanim also should know who the judge is. Dayanim means for him. Shenem Elakim Nitzav B'adas Kel. V'chein b'yeshayfet we have this Ruaymer. Says in the Psukim, V'yaymer l'shayftin. Rume atamaysim ki loy la'adam tishbetu. Why? Kim l'Hashem. Shem v'yaymer dayin mali b'tzayzer. What I need this time? Loymar. V'imchem b'dav mishpat ein lo l'dayin ela ma she'ein avrois. So hechidami. So if a person's worried, Zok Rashi, as long as you know what's going on, once you do your shtavlis, you do elaina mashein of rice, is not a problem, it's fine. Zok the Gemara, hechi damik mardin. When is the concept considered a gmardin? Amar v'dam rav ish ploinat chayiv. If a person says you're chayiv, ish ploinat zakai. Amar rav, the halacha is kabishur ben karcha. What's your shur ben karcha? That what? That it's a mitzvah. Any fact the Mar Rav Huna Tamid Rav Havik. He have a Asik Mid Rav Huna and Amalu. He says, Idina, if you want to pass, no problem. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do a bisa. So tomorrow, you know, my mitzvah nami the kamar. Rabbi Shur Mekacha, the mitzvah lememru on Daf Zayin and Alf Adarab. It's a mitzvah to tell them, Idina bisa. If you want to do the din, I'm ready to pass you whatever the psak is. However, Ipshara bisu. Fact the Gemara Hainu Tanakama. We just saw on the top of Vavam Beis Mamish. The first line says, Nigmar Adin Yatarasha Litzoyu. What's the chilik? Mikaydin Mardin. It's very clearly you could. So up to Gemara, no ike benayu mitzvah. That what? In order to mention a pshar is in a mitzvah, not according to Tanakama, there's no mitzvah. However, according to B'shor Merkoch, it's a mitzvah. B'shor Merkoch is over mitzvah. Tanakama is over to Rishos. Zok the Gemara that the shitas Tanakama is Hainu der B'Shimon ben Menashe. What's the chiluk between B'Shimon and Tanakama? Ike benayu. You know what the chiluk is? What you're learning. Meshet ishma divrein v'ateyadei lahechan adin noiten. You know where the din is going. Iyat rasha loyim lahen. You know tam zubetzu. Go out and try to make up shor once you already know. Pliga der tanchum bain chani loy dam tanchum loy no never mikoseh. This whole mikvah, this whole pasuk ella kenegen ma'isa ego. What was the ma'isa ego? Regarding a compromise, that Aaron made a compromise. Shenamar. Vayar Aaron saw Vayivan Mizbech Lafana. We all know the Ma'isa Ego. Ma'ra, what did he see already? Amar ben Yamin by Yafes, Amar Lazar, Ra Chur, Shezavorach Lefanav, they mamish shechter Chur. When he started complaining, so Aaron said to himself, if I'm going to open my mouth and start complaining, you know what they're going to do? They're going to kill me. And what's the problem if they kill me? If they kill me, Rahman said to kill Aaron, who's also a Kohen, and a Navi, they're going to kill me. They're going to be Mekayim, the Pasuk that says, Im Yahareg b'migdash Hashem Kohen v'Navi. If Rahman's son end up killing a Kohen and a Navi, they'll never be able to do tshuva. V'lehavelu takata la'ilam. That what? So muktav to do avodah zarah. Dila'avdu la'egel. And then what? Efshav takata b'tshuva. It's much better to do egel, which you can do tshuva, than Rahman's son to kill Aaron, who's a Kohen and a Navi. There they'll never have any hope. Zok Gemara. Now we're going to continue with the psukim of Paiter Mayim releasing here. We're going to talk about it. Ani tonight. Paiter Mayin Reishis Aron Reishis Martin. What is all these Tanoim that are arguing? What are they going to do with the pasuk? Well, the they don't hold that what Mishatishma Dvarein Ietar Rasha. Let's say once you hear it, you're allowed to what? Not allowed to do a pshar. What are they going to do with this pasuk of Paiter Mayin? My Dorshbek. The first thing they're going to ask you, Tess explains that there's two types of people. There's a person who tries to learn every day, but he's not kaveh itim. There's a person who doesn't learn at all. Such a person who doesn't learn at all, because Tess's questions, we know the first question is going to be, if you did your business dealings correct. So how do we suddenly say that here we're going to handle right away? They're going to write, when you get to Shemayim, they're going to ask you what happened to your Torah. We're talking about someone who doesn't learn. That ain't chilas dino shaladim. As soon as you come to Shemayim, they're going to mon you. They're going to ask you, they're going to ask you, did you learn? Shenema paita mayim. Over here, mayim means Torah. There we learned it earlier. Machlokes, reishis madin is the first thing. The Rebbeinu shows the beginning of your din. Amar of Huna. Haitigra machlekes de maya is litzinoyer the bitka de maya kivin the ravach. A lot of times we all know this machlekes. You end up forgetting even what the machlekes was about. It's usually very babyish, and once a machlekes opens up, it's very hard to stop a machlekes. Just like water with the little thing that you have a little water, you could quickly plug it, but you leave it unplugged, eventually it opens up the dam, and then it's impossible to stop. So too machlekes. If you don't stop the machlekes immediately, you don't have a shot to fix it up. It's dami leguda the gamla kivin come. It's like a plank of the bridges. The Rashi's mas in the beginning it's very shaky, but once it's settled, there's no way out. It's ready sturdy. Who then machlekes? If you let machlekes to go and settle, there's no way to fix it up. Zok the Gemara Shami v'Shesi Shavas Mir Susimin. Who the have a comment going through a bunch of ma'asim? A person's walking and he's talking. Who the have a comment of a person saying Tuvid the Shama ve'Odish. If a person who hears himself, he's getting the bimvazim, Rashi says. You know what happens to a person who's getting biza after biza and he stays quiet? 100 misfortunes, chalfor kapassim, and nothing's going to happen to him. It's a kapara. What we say today when someone's bimvazish, we say kapara samaynis. It's the same type of concept. Amalei Shmuel review the Kruksiv. It says paiter mayim. Reishis madan, that we're playing with the lashon over here. Reish me'adini. That the beginning is enough of 100 dinim over here, it's going to pass you. Who the come up as another ma'isa? Person's walking and saying, just because a person steals once or twice, even 3 times, and he didn't get caught, but we all know, it's the same concept. Nothing happened, he didn't get caught, but eventually he's going to get caught. We have this in the pasuk already. However, once you do 4 times, who the come of also? Shev biri l'shamana v'chav lavabish. Dahainu 7 pits. If a person's right to show him, he could have 7 pits. He'll make sure, and the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make sure he doesn't fall into any of them. However, a person that's bad, even 1 pit he'll fall right in. Amar Shmuel of Yehuda Kruksiv Kishava, like we know this. Kishava yipol tzadik v'kam v'rasha yipol b'achas. Who da v'kam v'azal? What happened was he went to Bezdin, and the Maisa they went against him, and he had to take off his clothing. He owed him his coat, so he removed the coat. You know what he should do? He should be happy. Liz Mazemer should thank the Rebbeinu Shalom Eleza Baruch. Why? Because Baruch Hashem, the Dayanim made sure that he didn't steal. Well, why is he chayiv? Otherwise, he's a ganif. Amar Shmuel of Yehuda Kruksiv, the gam. Amar Shmuel of Yehuda Kruksiv. We have a pasuk that says, "The gam kol ha'am." This is the Rashi's masber over here. We're saying kol. Even the people that weren't happy with the din, they were still yavav b'shalom. They were happy. You know why? Very nice. They were chayiv. But l'maisa, Baruch Hashem, that they did the right thing, and they're happy for that. Zok the Gemara, who have a come of Hazel. Hina Yamad, we're talking about a lady that's fallen asleep. She's dozing over. Dikua, shuffle, the basket that was always perched on top of her head goes lower. Dainu, Rashi's masber, a person comes lazy with his work. You feel it. You see a person did a very cheap job. Yehuda Kruxiv, it says in the pasuk, with laziness. But Saltayim, Yimach, Hamakara, the ceiling sags, it goes lower. V'goymer. A person walking, he says, Gavra, derechsina alei. Person I trusted, I fell for him, was blindly. Then he comes and basically stabs me in the back. He stands up against me. Amalei Shmuel Yehuda Kruxiv, like it says in the pasuk. Gam ish laimi asher betachti, even the person that I trusted, by oichel lachmi, ends up eating my bread. Who dav come abazul? Ki rechsman, we're talking about the Shon Bais ben Ishla Ishtay, when he was in love with his wife, Ava Ziza, a pussy that says there, Savsira, even the width of a sword, they're able to be connected. Shechivan. Hashta, now that there's no shalom bias, there's no love, the Ziza, Rechimtan, Purya Bashita, and Garmida Lesagila, and even a bed that's 60 amas is not enough for us. We find this in the Psukim Kiviyacho regarding their Baina Shalaylam. Kraiksiv, Mikaraksiv, says in the pasuk, V'na'adi l'chosham, v'dibarti itcha, we're talking about the Baina Shalom, the Scheiner is with us. Me'ala kapayers, who's on top of the kapayers, and how high was this kapayers? V'tanya, Aaron was Tisha, the kapayers was Tefach, so we're kind of sorrow. The Baina Shalom is only 10 tefachim away from us. And Lamaitz Ksiva Bias, we know this from the beginning of Abasa, Shabana Melech Shloimel Hashem, Shishim Ama Arkoi with 60 amas length, Esim Rachbe, Vishleishim Ama Kamasai. And it says, you know what it says regarding later, Labasai Ksiv Koyam Hashem, Hashamayim. We're talking about only in heaven, even though so high was my throne, Kissi Va'aretz, was my Doim Ragli, was my footstool, Eza Bias, Shetibnuli. What house are you going to build me? Uchulei V'goymer. So again, we see in the beginning, Rabbi Shalom was able to be with us, even very low. Even later on, when the Bais Hamikdash was very high, he still had to be in Shemayim. It wasn't close enough. My mashma, Zoktamar, how do you know the high Lesagur? We kept on saying Lesagur Pnei Ish. We had a Shiloh, what's Ish? Was it a Rebbe? Was it a tough person? We played on that word a lot. Lesagur, how do you know the Lishon of the Chanushu? It's a Lashon of holding, withholding. Amar Nachman, Amar Kretz says the Pasuk, you shall not drink wine, or you shall not gather. Rav Achma Yaakov Amahach, it says, Tachin, Bakaitz Lachma, Agra Bekatza, she gathers in the harvest for the bread. Hagar Bekatza Mechalor. Vachar Davika Amahach says in the Pasuk, Oigid Bekaitz Ben Maskil, the wise son gathers in the summer. Okay, so we see a Lashon of gathering. Zok Gemara Vayter Emes Maman Yersimen Amar Shmuel Ben Chmeini Amar Yainason called Dayan Shadon Din Emes La Amitoy. A Dayan the Taka says the right halachos Mishra Scheiner BeYisrael Shenem, like it says, like we saw earlier, we used this Lashon at the end of the pasuk. Elakim Nitza Ba'adas Kel B'Kerev Elakim Yishpain. V'chol Dayan, however, a Dayan Sheina Din Emes La Amitoy Goyrim L'Scheina Shetistalek MiYisrael Shenem, like it says in the pasuk. Mishoy Daniyim, whether you press the poor, me'enkas of Yoinim. The halach is Ata Yakum Yoima Hashem V'Goyim, and he's going to come and take over. Kili is going to help them and defend them. V'amar Shmuel Nachman Ami Yisrael called Dain Shonot Mamel Lezem and Oisel Lezeh Shaloikeden. Lemaisi made a mistake. The halach is HaKadosh Baruch Hu Noito Mimenu Nafsho. He's going to take him away. Shenema, he's going to kill him. Shenema Tigzol Do. Don't steal from the poor person. Kidolu. Ani Bashar, and don't oppress the Ani in the gates. Ki Hashem Yariv Rimam, he's going to fight for them. The Kava Es Kaveyem Nefesh, he's going to end up making sure to protect him all the way, even to take away your Nefesh. You're dying Atzmoy, the way a dying should look whenever he paskins. Ki'ilu Cherev Munachas Loi Bein Yer Chaysav. The Gehenim Psuchaloi Mitachtav, and Gehenim is Mamish right under him. Shenema, like it says in the pasuk, Hine on the top of Zainam base. Hine Mitasoi Shalashloimoi was Shishin Gabayim. There were 60 fighters. Saviv Lami Gibar Yisrael, and Kulam, they all had what? Achuzei Cherev Milaim de Mechama. Ish Charba Yerech. And the end of the pasuk says what? Mi Pachad Leilais. What are we learning? Mi Pachad Leilais. What's the fear night? Mi Pachto Shel Gehenim Shedaim Leila, which is compared to night. Darash Rabbi Yishavi Tamar of Nachman Yitzchak Ma'idich. What does it say in the pasuk? Beis David, the house of David. Koi Amar Hashem Dino Shabila Biker Mishpat V'Tzilu Gozo Miyad Oishik, and you should take away the Gzela from the person who's getting oppressed. Why? Ben Teitzei Kayesh Chamasi V'Goymer. So Zok the Gemara. V'chiba biker done it. Dafka in the morning v'chalayim done it. La elo. You could only give up psak din. In barlacha davar kebiker. Just like it's clear to you that it's daylight. Two then you can paskin ru. V'im lav. If you have any suffix, don't paskin. Stay quiet. Al tamru. B'chiba Abba Mir Nesa Mahacha says in the pasuk. Amar l'chachma. You should tell the chachma chaysiat. You're my sister. In barlacha hadavar ka'chayscha. If it's mamish clear to you that she's like your sister, she has surah. Just like we all know that a sister is asur. Then amreyu v'im lav. And if you're not sure, al tamrei, don't say it. Amar Shoban Levi, we're on the first white line in Zainam and Beis. Amar Shoban Levi, Asara sheyosh medin. You have 10 dayanim sitting together. Koiler, you have a chain, totally bitzaver. Zaktumar, Avada, everyone has to suffer if they gave the wrong din. That's what we're trying to say when there's a koiler. Zaktumar pshita. Well, why do you think otherwise? They all did it together. Zaktumar letzricha. Even the chiddush is a talmid hayoshev lifnei rabbi. Even the talmid, he's going to get punished for doing the wrong din. Rav Huna kevi asi dina lekamei. When Rav Huna whatever had it didn't come in front of him, michnev he would gather maisi asar rabbanon. He'd go bring 10 other dayanim beirav. And Amar said kehecha delamation shiva machshur like that. They should take a chip of the beam. Dainu, we should split our losses. If chas v'shalom we end up giving the wrong psak, no, I only have to handle 10% of the wrong psak. Rav Ashi kevi asi. Terifta, whenever a shaila if something's kosher or not, before you do it, what would he do? Also, he would gather these 10 dayanim, michnif, u'maisilu, l'kula, tavachin, the masim, chas. He would bring over all these taivchim. Amar, same type of concept, kehech, dilmation, shiva, mechshur, like that again, they'll take a chip of the beam. I don't have to handle the entire loss. If chas v'sholem, we end up paskening the wrong halach. What is the pasuk saying? Melech b'mishpat yamid arts. If a melech is b'mishpat, it's fine. He could hold strong. However, if it is truma, someone is gathering presents. Yar sena. The hainu im dayin doimel melech sheina tzricha klum. He doesn't need any other's opinions. He's very clear. He's decisive. He could paskin. Then yamid arts. Then doimel a kohen. If he's like the kohen that what is looking at the matanas shemechaza basic kronis to pick up everything to chaparayin. Yar sena. Then he gets destroyed because he has to ask everybody what is the halacha. He himself, he doesn't really know. That's what ends up happening and gets destroyed. The Bay Nisia Ukmi Dayan, the Gemara says a Maisa that what happened was they ended up putting a dayan, the Loi Havagomer, he wasn't a good dayan. So Amalei, the Nasi tells Yehuda ben Achmeini Meturgmanei the Reish Lakish. He tells the Turgman of Reish Lakish the way it worked was they would give a drasha. He would give it to one person. Then what we have it in the yeshivas, they call it the chayzer. Same type of concept. Kum alei b'amar, go to this box and gam. So come. He gets up and gachin alei v'laim he goes to his ear, tries to hear what this dayan has what to say. Lamai says dayan wasn't anything. So he had nothing to say. So Pasach v'amar, so this guy gets up and he says as follows: Hi, Amar la'etz. Woe to the person who tells the tree, Hakitza, go awake, or Uri la'aven diamonds, right? There's a lasha, the guy's dumb as a brick. Where does that come from? There's nothing there. There's no seichel. Uri la'aven diamond. You should go arise. Hu yaira. He could give a paskin. He could paskin. Who toughus. He was. How did he even get here with zav v'chesef? He was bribed into this position. V'charuach ein bekir by adkan the pasuk. V'asek kadosh baruch hu. Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take. Rebbeinu Shalom is going to punish the people that were corrupt and brought such dayanim l'fraim ha'mamidim shenema, like it says in the pasuk. V'Hashem behechol kachai has mipanav kol haaretz. The pasuk chapkut. The Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take care of the people that do such corruption. Amar Reish Lakish kol amame dayin al tziba shein agun ki'ilu naita ashera. Ashera is a tree. One person plants it by the zara. How do we know this? Like it says in the pasuk in the Dvarim. Shayftim v'shaytim titin lachan. Right away it says v'samach lei leisita lecha ashera. Now, mamash a few psukim later it says you should not plant ashera tree called eitz. Amar Avashu b'makom sheish tamidei chachamim. And Adarab, there's even tamidei chachamim kilo natoi etzel mizbech shenemar etzel mizbech Hashem lekach haksiv leisasun it elahei chesed v'leizav elahei chesed v'leizav u'du le'avdi. What, you're going to tell me dafka the getchkas of wood and trees are the dafka of zav and chesed are the eight shari? Amar Avashi, no, this is what he's saying. Elahai, which is a judge, Abba b'shul kesef. How did he get in this position? It was all corruption. Elahai, Abba b'shul zav. Dr. Mara Rav Kiava Asila Beidina Amahachi would say as follows: Berois Nafshe Lekatala Nafik Utzvi Bais Leslie David. He's trying to say in his own will, he was basically talking about himself, It's not an easy position where he's in, because chas v'sholom, he could say the wrong din. So you say berois nafshel katol nafik dain is going to riga with three beis leisu David ve'rekel la beisa aisle. He's going to go back empty-handed. Levai shetebia kitzia. Just like he's coming empty-handed, who din he should come back empty-handed without chait, without messing up. Ki when Rav would see ki have a chazi and bua de safri abatzrei. What happens? He would see crowds following him. Lashon, where a Rebbe walks in, he has a whole entourage. Amar, in order to squell his gaiva, he would say as follows: Yal shemayim siu v'goymer kegilo v'netzach yovid. All this covered is going to go to shemayim, but you know what's going to happen? It's going to be mamish like galolim. There's nothing different. Whenever he would give the Shabbos drasha before the Chag, they would put him on the shoulders and bring him in. That forever, it's not going to last forever, all the zachin. You think a crown's going to stay forever? All the rabbis, it's going to go to the kids. They all die eventually. Darash, bar kafmina, milsadam rabbanon, have a misunim bedin. Dahainu, whenever you have a din, you don't just paskin so quickly. You have to deliberate, make a real psak. Just like you don't go up steps, you go up. Rutzer Rashi says, a ramp, you go up more slow. To show us by mishpatim. Don't do it by oifen rutzer. Where Rashi's Masber were talking about when the Turgman would be Dairish, the Tzibur would sit on the floor. How do you know that you shouldn't go over them? It looks like it's a bizayin. Says in the Zaktim, I should toss him. It says you shouldn't place. I should tell him. You shouldn't teach me violent fracting tomorrow. With their Rashi's Mazbur, when it comes to Kalim, it makes a sense of lashon of moving around. Ravuna Kavanafil Ladina Ma'achi. Afikulu money, go take away my utensils, Chanusoi, the one which was the makkah, which was the stick that they used for Makas Mardos, the Ritzua. For Malkus, for Shofrot, to put them in Chayrim, Rashi says, for Sandala, which we know was all used for Chalitza. State in the pasuk. Now we're going to go through a few psukim in Shvatim, in Pashas, in Sefer Dvarim. It's going to start. It's really psukim. We're going to go through it quite barichas. Let's see the psukim inside. It says in pasuk design. The Torah brings it down. Vatzava es shefteicha. You shall. Tzav is a lashon. We're going to see with a lashon of instruction. We're going to see more about this. Be'esai at that time, lema shamaya ben achechem. You shall listen among your brothers. Ushefatim. You should judge tzedek ben ish uven achuv ben ger, even if he's a ger. And then next psukim say leisakiru fanim. Fanim means a lashon. You shouldn't favor one person by mishpah kakaton kagadol tishmon. We're going to handle what is a katon, what's a gadol. Leisagur pnei ish, which we played in these words already a while. You should not withhold pnei ish. There was a shayla if it's mammon, if it's a rabbi v'chule. Ki ha-mishpat l'lekim hu v'adavar asher yiksha mikam takrivim alai ushmatim. Then it says one more pasuk which we should see. V'tzava eschem. I command you at that time is kol advarim. All this thing is shetasun. Since these three psukim, we're going to go through this all the way to the two dots on the bottom of Chesed Alf. So let's go through this psukim. Starts in the pasuk va'atzav to instruct. Here we're using the lashon tzav. Va'atzav is shefteichen ba'isai. Rabbi Yechanan, we know what this is talking about. Keneged makel u'ritzur tezoris. The hainu. You should give it an emo. And Rashi says it's l'shem shemayim. It's not stam that you're doing it. And then the psukim continue. Shamaya. Hold on a second. It says Shemaya ben Achechem. Right. Shemaya ben Achechem. Ushefatim you should judge. Amar Chanina the one it's Azor leBezdin. Shala Yishma Divri Baldin Kaidim Shiova Baldin Chaver. We all know if a person wants to go to Bezdin, you can't handle even before the other party comes. V'Azor leBaldin Shala Yatin Dvar leDayin Kaidim Shiova Baldin. Even the person himself, who's a part of one of the parties, shouldn't go to Bezdin Chaver Baldin Chaver. Kaver Nami. It says in the pasuk Shemaya ben Achechem. Which you should make her actually playing with the Shemeya ben Achechem. Kana Mahacha says Melisisa Leisasi. Also over there it should be you shall not make Ushefatim Tzedek. The pasuk continues, and it says you should judge Ushefatim Tzedek, righteous. Amish look at Tzedek is a din. Ve'achakach chatcheyu. You should be mitzadik is a din, and then you should taka go chatcheyu lashon, be very deliberate about it. And ishmein alchif uben geir. And the pasuk says whether it's your brother or whether it's a friend or ben geir, whether it's a stranger. Yehuda filo ben Bais Medrash. The hainu Rashi's Masber. What is the halacha when you have two brothers? They were yarish shutfim. Now you have easy way out of just saying, you take the top floor, you take the bottom floor, have a wonderful day. And that would say, no, the dayan has to be very nitty-gritty and see, exactly evaluate how much the top floor costs, how much the bottom floor costs, and then Taka give differentiation. Then it says, even a stranger here, we're playing with the words it's such kleine geld, it doesn't make a difference. Lashon Mugger, not Lashon of what we understand a ger, rather Lashon Mugger, Zakt Rashi, which is Tashmishe Dira. The pasuk continues, says, you should not go favor over one party over the other. Shouldn't love your friend more, but no, the other way around. If the guy's a stranger, don't hate him. And the Gemara says a ma'aseh that happened that Ushbezichne de Rav, the host of Rav, so Rav has a lot of course to take him. He was always going to him. Asuk made the din, he pulls at the bezin, Amalai. Lav, so right away Rav says, what do you mean? You're my host. How could I pass him for you? Amalai, Lav, Ushbechaziniata. Aren't you my host? So tomorrow, Amalai in, yes. You are, Amalai, yes, you are my Amalai Rav. Rav says, the other way around, sorry. The person who is the host tells Rav, you're my host. So Amalei Rav, Rashi says, Amalei Rav, and yes I am. Amalei Dina Isli. So I have a din. I have a bezin. Amalei, when the ches, Amalei off the top, Pesinalach Ledina. I have no choice. You mentioned your taiva, I have no choice. I'm possible to din now. Amalei Rav Rav Kahana. So go to Rav Kahana. He saw that his host was he figured he had protection. He has this guy, he has this whole case wrapped up. He has Rav. So Amalei, so right away he quiets him down. Rav Kahana quiets him down. He says, "Eat tzayasa. If you're willing to listen to me, get ready. Tzayasa. Be lying. You think you can have Rav to back you up? No. Be lying. Mafkanalach Rav mu'unech. I'm going to put you in cherem against Rav like that. Zakt Rashi she'ein Rav yachol sayacha. The mashtinalach. I'm going to put you in cherem. It's not going to help you." The pasuk continues and it says, "Kekoton kagadol tishma'un." What's it mean? Kagaton kagadol. Just like you have a pruta, who did a me'amana? It doesn't make a difference. What are we trying to tell us? What's the having in that? Any judgment that pulls at the bezin, you have to paskin. That if you have a dincha pruta, which is first in line, and then suddenly a massive multi-million-dollar lawsuit comes, don't cut the line. The Hadmin would say maybe there's a lot more money involved in Rishonim and Masber, so it makes more sense. People have much more to lose. Other Rishonim explain that the dayan doesn't get such a salary, so it would make more sense. In the Rishonim. State in the pasuk like Seguru mipnei ish, they take it out. Amar Chanan tachnis l'rach mipnei ish, like we spoke about. What Seguru means. The pasuk continues. Ki hamishpat leilekim Amar Chanan chanina makadosh baruch hu leidayin l'rishoyim. A bad dying, what's he do? He takes away the money. That Shematrichin, the Rebbeinu now has to go what? Shematrichin oisi lahachse mama lebal. The pasuk continues. It says, "V'hadavar asher yikshem michem." Amachanina v'yitem Rabbi Yeshia adavar zeh nenash Moshe. Namash this halacha that he used the lashon Moshe Rabbeinu got punished. Shenemar says in the pasuk, "Vayikrav Moshe's mishpaton." What was the statement that Moshe Rabbeinu did? He says, "Vayikrav Moshe's mishpaton lifnei Hashem." And he got punished by using a sprach that, don't worry, come to me come to me for all the mishpaton. Maskavar Nachman by Yitzchak. Miksiv Vashmiechem. I'm going to cause you to hear it? No, Vashmativ. What's that mean? If you have a halacha, no problem. I'll hear it. Then what? Ksiv Igamir Gamir. If I know the halacha, I don't have a problem. V'loi Azlinu Gamir. I'm going to go ask your Rebbeinu Shalom. Like we all know what happened with the Ma'aseh Tzlavchat, right? With Yerusha, Rebbeinu Shalom had to go. Moshe Rabbeinu went and asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, who did with the Mekaishish, with Misa. Ella Vada, that it wasn't that Moshe Rabbeinu got punished. So how do we have the Parsha of Tzlavchat for the Bnei Tzlavchat? It wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu's name. Look at the Tani Ru Parshas Nachlois Shetikasa B'dei Moshe Rabbeinu. Ba'atzim the whole sugya of Bnei Tzlavchat should have been Moshe Rabbeinu. Shezachu Bnei Tzlavchat v'nichtavan al-Yadon. And more than that, Yerusha Parshas Mekaishish. It's interesting. Some say it was Tzlavchat who was the Mekaishish. Shetikasa B'dei Moshe Rabbeinu. Shenes Chayev Mekaishish v'nichtav al-Yadon to tell us al-Lemtcho Shemagalgulin Chayva Yidei Chayev, which was Mekaishish, V'schos, which is Bnei Tzlavchat Ayidei Zakai. Ksiv says in the pasuk, V'tzave es shayvteichem. If you look at the pasuk, which is a pasuk in Dvarim over there, V'tzave shayvteichem, your judges. V'eisehi. Uksiv, it says in a different pasuk, V'tzava eschem. Mamash 2 psukim later it says eschem. So is it the shaytim or it's the nation basically? Amar lezem sablaya zara letzibur sheteim es dain alein v'zara ledain sheyisabul tzibur. So ad kama can you handle tzibur? Amar chanim yitim shem sorry kasha yisa uman say yainik. Just like a person who is a yainik. Ksiv kiyat hasavi. The ksiv kiyat hasavi. This is regarding Yeshua. Is kiyat hasavi more of a lashon of a leader, or kiyat hasavi that you're just coming along with everybody else? So Rashi, Katasavi Mashma Gamata, you're one of them, or Katasavi, you're the one who's going to lead the Ilam. Amr Yechonam Lamashir Shua Ata Vaskena Shabadariman. Amr Lakadosh Baruch Hu, the first pasuk is Moshe Rabbeinu. Second pasuk is Bnei Shalom. Tol Mako, you take a stick, Vahachal Katkam, go bang on the heads. There was Daber Echel Ledar. There could only be one leader per generation. Manig Echot. Ve'ein Shnei Dabarin Ledar. Zok Gemara Vayte Tana. Atkan more or less was that Gatik more. Now we're going to discuss back to the Mishnah. Shtikol says Tana Zimun. What is Zimun? Zimun is Bishleisha. My Zimun. Elim, what we know when a person's benching, we say you need a Zimun. Elim Bricha Zimun Vatanya Zimun says Zimun Ubricha Zimun Bishleisha. And if you're going to try to tell me Chitayim Prushikam Farish, that's what just explaining. My Zimun is only Bricha Zimun. Vatanya that can be why? Because we have a Bryce that says Zimun. We're going to underline the word Bishleisha. Bircha Zimun is also b'shleisha. So why would you have to be repetitive, the lashon of shleisha? Elamai Zimun, what we call today hazmana. You got hazmana l'din, hazmuna l'din. Ki Dama Rava, like Rava says, Hani beit lasa dayana the yasi, 3 dayanim sitting. Va'azu shlicha, they send the shliach to beidina. Va'amar, the shliach made a mistake, and he said only mipuma dechad. He says that Ruvain or Rabbi, this one dayan gave a psak. Lo yama klom ad the Amar shmei the kuli. He has to give him the name of all 3 dayanim. And Zok the Mara, right? We all know Takana says from Monday and Thursday. So Dafka on a day that Bezdin wasn't open. If it was a Monday or Thursday, he doesn't need to explicitly say that the Yom HaKamin is going to work. Zok the Mara, we said to Shlomi Kefal the Mishnah. What is the halacha by Knossos? Dine Knossos become how many dayanim? Do you need how many dayanim do you need for knas? So Zaktamar, Ma'akim Vayla, what's the shaila? We have a Mishnah clearly says you need gimel dayanim. Ha'anan t'nam b'shleisha. Ella, his shaila was maybe knas could work with yachin mumcha k'mevayla. The shaila is dein dayan knisas the ain do the k'mevayla danin dine knossos alone. So I'm like to Neshua. We have a brayso that said to Shlomi Kefal with the Shlomi Chamisha b'shleisha. My shleisha. Ilim b'shleisha diyaitis. Stam to tell you shleisha diyaitis. Ha ma'avucha davucha mishvei there have a filasara. Vehina Jaitz Psulin. Lidina Knossos. Ella Mai, it's Mumche, the Karma Shleisha to answer his question. A Yachin Mumche is not going to help for a Knas. Zok Gemara v'chachami Maimrim, Maitzi Shemra, ve'esrim b'shleisha. So now we're going to see 8 different shitas regarding this machlekes Rameir and Rabbanon. We know the Mishnah of Maitzi Shemra. There's a big shiloh. Exactly what the Maitzi Shemra is. What is he doing? Is he really bringing Eidim? We're going to discuss this at length throughout these different 8 mahachim to be masber the machlekes Rameir Rabbanon b'kipshutai. Well, we're handling is a Maitzi Shemra. So over here we're going to handle. And we clearly see in the Mishnah machlekes Rameir. Rameir holds Gimel, Chachamim hold 23. So we're going to see Ula, Rava, Bain, Rapapa, and then Rav Ashi, which is going to be the 5th. And then we're going to have, which is the 4th, and Rav Ashi, and then we're going to have Ravina's 3 Mahachim. Zok to Gemara. Chachamim, Maitzi, Shemra, is Be'asim, Shleisha, and Rameir holds its Gimel. V'chiyesh by din in the fashis. Might have it. What's going on? What's the machlekes? Is it din in the fashis or not? Zok to Mara Ama Ula, which is the first mahalach. What we're worried is as follows: B'chayshin le'laz kamiflagi. Are we worried for laz? What's the problem? Laz is going to come out of kol, and eventually it's going to come out edim. Now that there's edim, it's going to turn into what? The capital punishment halachos. That's what we're worried about because she's going to get misa. Therefore, if you're worried about that, even now, with you only have the mamra, and we could say you need to have chav gimel just in case edim come. We're not even worried that's going to happen. Therefore, you're only handling the ksuba, the 100 that you have to pay. No problem. So this is the first mahal, which is ula. Rava says, we're not worried for las. So what's the machlekes? So what was the case? The guy got all very confident. I have edim. I'm going to prove it to you. The whole Esdin ended up disbanding. The reason was because no one pulled through. That's the reality. He couldn't pull through Eidim. So they had no choice to leave. So what's the Shaila? And he tells the Yanim, okay, I got it, you guys are all leaving me. I'm not going to kill my wife. But at least I want to handle the halacha is Rashi's masber. There's a chazaka. Ein adam teirich besuda. Which means to say is he just spent millions of dollars, whatever much he spent for the chasana. A person doesn't spend so much money and then says Isha is not a psula. Therefore he has a chazaka, he's believed regarding the moments. He tells these three dayanim, hang around and stay over here. I want to paskin regarding my moment. So the shaila is, so that's the machlokes. Rameir says, we're not choshel l'kvaydan, therefore we can leave these three dayanim. Chachamim Aimrim, no, you started with 23, now they're all leaving, you gotta totally disband the halach of 23 and start over. So that's the machlokes, Rameir and Chacham. Ad kan is Ula and Rav. Zok the Gemara on Chasam and Beis. Meisvi, the Gemara is going to question on Ula. Ula saying, the whole machlokes is what? Choshel l'laz kamifulgi. Meisve, we have a mission that says as follows: moment. If he's handling for money, this is what you have to underline: bishleisha, which is going to be a kasha nula. Tavoi nefashus basim bishleisha. So bishleisha, it's easy to understand. The question is, how did you start the bezdin? Tavoi moment chila, there's no problem. Rav agrees, everyone holds you can start b'shleisha. Tavoi nefashus chila, then I feel a moment basim b'shleisha. You ula saying the what? Choishin lalas kamifulgi kasha. How in the world do you understand Tava moment is going to be b'shleisha? So Rava answers, ani arisha b'chabur tekamino man who's this? Reb Chia bar Elvin. Hacha b'meskin, and you know what the case was. Shehevi abal eidim shezinsa. What happened was the Baal brings eidim, and then a chanami. It was in a bezin of 23. Vehevi av eidim, and the father brings eidim ve'zimul eidah abal. So Baal ligvas mammon b'Baal. Now the halacha is kasher zaman. So they want to get their money back. The father wants to get his money. Baal ligvas mammon b'Baal b'shloisha. In economics, it's not a problem. However, if he wants a handle for the eidim that wanted to kill his daughter, or b'makar nefasha is be'esrim b'shloisha. So far we have two mahalchim, Ula and Rava Chayshin Laz or Chayshin L'Kavod. Now we're up to the third mahalch. Abai Omar, the Kulam Chayshin Laz, Mishum Kvadim Shari Scheiner. So what's the machlokes? Remeir Chachamim, if it's 23 B'Mitzvah Shamra or 3. Hachim Aiskin could go into Asr Beis Tam. What happened was he had Eidim, they gave a Hasra. The high Tanu is going to hold the Tanya. Ushar kochayv misa shebetoyer aim a misan oisam. You don't kill a person ela be'eda with chav gimel de'ana like we all know the eidim vasra. Va'at you do shuchay misa be'bezdin. You're going to tell this person, you do this chait, you're going to get killed in bezdin. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer at you do be'eza misu nerag. You have to tell him how he's going to get killed. So in such a case, what is the halacha? We have Shittas Rabbi Yehuda that says, in the case where you did not tell this Isha how she's getting killed, so this is the machlokes. If you hold like Rabbi Yehuda, you need Chav Gimel, which is Shittas Chachamim. However, Amir doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Amir holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Therefore, in the case where he didn't give us, he didn't tell him how he's going to get killed, therefore it's only going to be B'shleisha, Mesha'en Kain, Chachamim do not hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore, even though he didn't give it as a Asra, he's going to get killed with 23. That was the third mahalach to explain the machlokes Chachamim and Remeir regarding Mitzvah Shemra, if it's 23 dayanim or 3 dayanim. Rav Papa Amar, the fourth mahalach. Amar hacha be'isha chaveira skina, she's a tamach chacham. Ve'kamifgli be'palukta de Rabbi Yaisi bar Rabbi Yehuda Rabbana de Tanya Rabbi Yaisi bar Yehuda Aimer. Chaver ain't tzarich asra. She's a tamach chacham. What do you need asra for? Asra is to tell me halachas. Therefore, the shaila is, does she need asra or not? If you hold she does not need asra, then you hold like a chachamim, which is a misa of chav gimel. However, if you hold she needs asra, even though she's a chaver, then in such a scenario you do not get asra, which is shittas Rameir, it's good enough with gimel dayan. Now we're up to the fifth mahalach. Rav Ashi Amar Kigoin one daf tesam and alf top of the amid. The asru bei malkus v'loy asru bei katala. The Hainu, she's not going to get killed. They clearly told her that, what? That she's going to get Malkus. How do you look at Malkus? Malkus is B'shleisha. However, Shittas Rabbi Shmuel is Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amru Be'esrim B'shleisha. It's a chelik of a misa. One of the misa is, it's somewhat of a misa is going to be Malkus. So this is Rav Ashi's mahalach. Again, the whole shiloh of Rameir, Mitzvah Shemra, Rameir, and Chachamim is going to be if we look at Malkus like misa or not. We're on to the sixth mahalach, and we're going to end with Ravina's 3 mahalachim. What happened was, there was 3 Eidim involved. 3 Eidim said this Isha was Mezana. Now one of the Eidim is a Karev apostle, the Kamifli looked at Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Aliv and Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva holds as follows, which is going to be a machlekes Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi. The Tanan. Rabbi Kiva Aimer Leibash Shlishi, when a person has 3 dayanim, that he's going to get the same punishment like the other 2 dayanim. And Cain, and he's masbin Cain on a shakasav. It's a nitful ivra aveira, kaivra aveira lachas kama kama shisham schars a nitful isemitz a kaisemitz. Okay. So that what's the machlekes? Umash naim nimtza echamem karv apostle. Just like if there would be only 2 dayanim, one of them would be a karv. The whole edushin is betela. Av shleisha nimtza echamem karv apostle edushin betela. This is shittas of Rekiva. Uminay shefilu meya tamalayim. It says edim, which is plural, even 100. So this is the machlekes to what? Amar Rav Yaisi b'ma dvar mamurim b'dinin nefashos. Shittas Rav Yaisi is dafka capital punishment of b'dinim amaynos tiskayim edusam mishar. It's not a problem. Rabbi Aimer no. Echad dinim amaynos ve'echad dinin nefashos. Even by dinin amaynos. The Amosite, that's dafka b'zman shehisru b'hen. When the Karver or the apostle himself gave a hasra, which means to say is other people gave the hasra on the Testament base, he holds it has to be that it's not a problem. Why? It's a very simple concept. When you have shnei achim ve'echad. Imagine it would be that you have 3 people in a room and they're automatically disqualified. Any person can go pull out a gun and start killing people as long as there's 2 brothers in the room. Because in such a case you're going to tell me they're not kosher. Elamai, you don't need to, as long as they stayed quiet and did not give a straw, the karv is not a problem. However, that's a machlekes, and we're trying to explain this is the machlekes. Rameir chachamim. In such a case, a karv apostle, and he did not give a straw. Viba sema or vina second malach is kigoin shehisru ba chayrim v'lay hisru ba edim. For example, he gave a straw. Sorry, the Eidim did not give Asra. Rather, other people in the room gave Asra. We have a machlekes. Rabbi Yosef Aimer la'olam. Shittas Rabbi Yosef says, "Ein energ achiu pi shnei edav masrim b'oich." And then it comes to the pasuk. It says, "Al pi shnayim Eidim," which is the only time you're going to get killed if these Eidim are the ones who give Asra. So this is the machlekes Rameir and Chachamim. In a scenario where the Eidim did not give Asra, if you hold the Eidim had to give Asra, which is Shittas Rameir, therefore it's Sagi B'Shleisha, because it's not going to be Din Nefashos. However, if you hold, which is Shittas Chachamim, the Eidim do not have to give Asra. Rather, Achem can give Asra, it's still considered Din Nefashos, therefore you need Chav Gimel Dayan. We're up to the 8th and final Mahalach. There's In Rashi's Masber, there's a difference between Bdikas. Bdikas is very small details, like what color was the trees, what color was the weapon, etc. And Chakiris, you need to know what date, the time, location, everything has to stem. That's going to work for Azama. So what is the halacha in a scenario where Chakiras, they both said it happened on a Sunday, 18 for Shei, very clear, all the halachas, everything stem. Now there was some minor details that was a contradiction. What is the halacha in such a case? Ve'kamifagli, people looked at Ben Zakir Rabbanan Tanan, Maisa Ubadak, Ben Zakir Uksitainim. Over there was a shiloh, there was a murder under little vines, and they asked the Dayanim, like, how thick were these vines? So what, the Eidim, not the Dayanim. One Eid said it was big, one Eid said it was small. So do we consider that bad Eidus or not? So that itself is a machlekes. So based on the machlekes, Ben Zakir Rabbanan, we're going to say, is going to be, in such a case, we have Eidim that gave contradictions in minor details. Are they still kosher or not? If you hold like Rameir, which is not kosher, it's only dinim and minors. Shittas Chacham that says 23 dayanim they hold, even in a case where there was a chasha in the bdikos, it's going to be considered dinah nefashos. Amar Rav Yosef. Mar goes weiter. Hevi Baal Eidim Shazinsa. What is the halacha of the Baal brings Eidim? That his wife was Mazana after she was Erisin before the Nisuin. Vehevi Av Eidim. Now the father comes, brings Eidim. Vezimum le'Eideh Habal. So the halacha is Eideh Habal Nerogin Eimisham moment. Because what would have happened to the Isha was she would have had 2 things happen to her. First of all, she would have lose her money, right? She would have lost her ksuba, and she would have got killed. However, we all know there's a halacha called Kimle B'derabamine, which means to say is Risha Achas At Mechayva V'Yed Mechayv Shtei Rishois Min HaTorah. A person, as long as he does, for example, Gzela V'Yitzah on Shabbos, he gets the gzeila. He doesn't have to pay it back. So kalach of kimle ben the ramina. So this Eidei Habal, we're doing what? Two things: Misa and Mammon. That's called kimle ben ramina. If they get busted, they're part on the Mammon. Chaza v'hevya bal Eidim v'hizimul Eidei Av. However, the Eidei Av's Eidim got busted themselves. There you are chayv. Why? Because Eidei Av neragun umasham Mammon. Because Mammon is there and a fashel is there. Number one is he wanted the Mammon would have gone to somebody else. The Mammon is regarding the Baal. And the Eidim Zayman, the first Eidim, he wanted to kill. So in such a case where it's Mammon to one party and the Fashus to another party, there in such a case, we don't say Kimle be the Ramine. Where goes Vaitiv Rav Yosef, Pliny Reva'oi La'ainsai. Guy gets up and he says that Pliny did Mishkav Zachar against my will. Hu va'achem etztarfen la'argai. That the halach is the victim, could be mitzvah with another person considered to aid him. However, he says, Lord Scheiner, we did it together, Baratzain, that's a Rashu. It's regular Mishkov Zachar, Taishis Rosh 8. Rav Amar, no, you could Palgina Dibur, we could split the testimony regarding he himself, we say no problem. He's a Korah, forget about a Rosh, Adam Korah, if it's a Latzmai, they know the Mesa Matzah Rosh. So we're not going to hear the part that you were the victim, or you were the consenting party. We're going to hear one concept. Reuven did a Mishkav Zachar. Zakting Mara Merava, same type of concept. Pliny one, Daf Yomi Chazara top of the helmet. Pliny Baalishti. Reuven went and he was Mizana with my wife. The halach is who? The Acher Mitzdarfen Lahargai. To kill the boil. For his wife he can't. So we're doing a Pagina Dibura because she's a Karf to his wife. Zakting Mara, my Kamash Shalom, the what? The Pagina Dibura Hainu Hach. Why is it different in the case of Mishkav Zachar? Mar says, no, Mal the Tema, that's by himself is the victim. Adam Karvitz, Atzmai Amrina. However, it's a listry, Loy Amrina, Kamash Malon, we say regarding your wife, your Osha, Karav, we have to be Pagina and Dibur. Aval Merava, Pliny Bal Naimar Rasa. Reuven was Bal on this Naimar Rasa. V'huzmi, now they didn't say who this Naimar Rasa was. Happens to be eventually, Ha came out and they found who the Naimar Rasa they were talking about. But it wasn't clear either than that. The halach is Nairagan. The Ain, Mishalman Mammon. Again, you don't have to pay Mammon because they didn't mention the woman. Bitoi Shoploini V'Huzman Eragnim Mishalman Mammon. However, if they clearly said who it was, then you have to pay Mammon because Mammon Lazev, which is going to the father, Unefalshis Lazev, and they want to kill the daughter. The Gemara continues weiter. Pliny Rava Hashar V'Huzmu. What happened was the guy says that Reuven did tashmish with my animal. You can also kill the animal. The halach is nerogin. Ve'ein mishalmin mammon. You don't pay mammon because they didn't say which shar it was. He just says same type of concept like the psula, like the Naim Rasa. That Pliny, I saw Pliny be buying all the shar. V'hozman nerogin mishalmin mammon. Shar shall Pliny v'hozman nerogin mishalmin mammon because Mammon said they wanted to kill my shar. V'nefashel says they wanted to kill the bail. Ha, what's the chiluk that we just saw earlier? But the name Rasa Mishum the Kabai, Bayilu, the Bay Rava Pliny, Rava Shari Mau. Person, can he say Mamish went and took my animal? Do we say me Amrin Adam Korvitzel Atzma, Yvain Adam Korvitzel Mamayna, and therefore it's not a problem? Idoma we say Amrinan Adam Karav Etzel Mamayna, Basa the Bay Hada Pashta. We came out Lamaisa Adam Korvitzel Atzma. However, Ve'ain Adam Karav Etzel Mamayna. The Mishnah said that Makas is Bishleisha v'chulei. Frakting Mar Minani Milu, where do we know this from? Amar Avuna Makrav, it says in the Pasuk, Vishaftum, Ushafatum, which is a Lashon plural. Ushafatum, it's Shnai, Vein Bezdin Shakul. We know you cannot have a split decision. So Meisif and Alein, Oidecha, the Rekan Shleisha. Elamata, we have a Pasuk where it says, V'tzdiku Tzadik, V'hirshu Sarasha, which it's Diku is Shnayim, it's a V'hirshu Shnayim, Rekan Shiva. What are you going to do with that pasuk? Mar says, you know, what are you going to do with that pasuk? It's nothing to do with the yonim. You need this pasuk of Itzdiku v'Yeshu for ula. Da'am ula remez la'edim zayim min atarmi nine. Where do we have a Ramas Leidim Zaim? For tomorrow, Ramas Leidim Zaimim. V'aksiv kasha zamam. You don't need a rai. What do you need a Ramas? It's meferish. El Ramas Leidim Zaimim shelikin minayin. How do you know? In Rashi's Masber, we're going to learn this in Mitzvah Shem Pesach time regarding a person that says in Makkos, a person says that what? That Reuven, who's a kohen, is a chola now. Now you're not a kohen, so how can you do kasha zamam? You can't punish me kasha zamam because I'm not going against him in a scenario where you're not a kohen. When I say me, the Bish Pliny Shu Ben Karusha, we're going to see them Yetzer Shem. So how do you know you get Malchus instead? Zok the Gemara, You know where you know this from? The Chsiv, it says as follows: Ve'etzdikus atzadik, ve'eshirus harasha. You're making the guy who's taka tzadik good. Ve'eshirus harasha. How do you understand the next psukim? V'hoya ben hakas harasha. You should give malchus. Ela eidim she'eshirus atzadik v'asu eid echrini. What happened was ve'etzdikus atzadik nimikara. The guy was a tzaddik, and you ended up bringing eidim zaymim. And then you cleared it up by cleaning the mess. Ve'shavinu lahanach rishayim. You show them that they're the ones who are rishayim. You know what you do? V'hayam ben hakas a Russia, and you go and you give him malchus. In fact, the more of it, typically, you should not bear a false witness. Why do you need to come? This whole concept of tzedikut tzaddik. The more answers mushum dahav lav shein b'maisa. Chalav shein b'maisa ain't like in Allah. Therefore, you need ulah to tell me that what eidim zaymim are going to get malchus. Zoktik Mara Mishum Rishmal Amru Be'esim Shleisha. Here, Reb Shmuel holds that malchus is considered somewhat of a misa. My time of the Rishmal. Zoktik Mara Bayas Russia Mechayv Misais. We're going to make a Gzei Shavik. Ksiv Hach, it says in the pasuk clearly. V'hayam ben hakus Russia. Ksiv Hasam, it says in the pasuk. Asher hu Russia lamus. Mala alon over there it's Be'esim Shleisha. So too, we're going to make a Gzei Shavik to tell us Afkan Be'esim Shleisha. Rav Amar Malchus is B'malchus Misa Madness. It's Mama similar to Misa. Therefore, it's going to get, you need to have Chav Gimel. Amar Rav Acha Berei the Rav Lavashi. Ihachi Omdano Lamali. The halacha of Malchus says we evaluate. We don't just take Malchus. We're worried that he's going to die. So we have to evaluate how much he can handle. Who cares? It's a Misa. Let him die. Let's give him Michi, let's flog. Let's give him Malchus. Let him die. It's not a problem. Amalei it can be because Amalei Amakra. It says in the pasuk, "Nikla chicha leinechish." To mean your brother chicha. Ki malchus agaba the chay malchus. When you give him the Malchus, he has to be in the back of a person that's alive. Elahad Tanya Amdul Kabul Esrim Ein Makinoisa. So the halach is Malchus was always split into three. Rashi's Masber, they did 2 in the front, they split into 3. Let's say it's 18, so he did 12 on his stomach and he did 6 on his back. The other way around. 12 on his back with Shlish Malafonov Zok Rashi. So it had to be equal to 3. The question is, what is the halach when they came out, they evaluated that he could technically handle 20 Malchus. He can have more than that. He can handle 20 Malchus. And 21 will kill him. So Zoktik Mar, the halach is we have to go down to 18. 18 divided into 3 is 6. You can't do 20 divided into 3. So Zoktik Mar, what's the problem? 21 is going to kill him? No problem. Give him 21, which is 7, which you can divide 21 to 3. Ela Malchus Aruyis L'Shtalish. I'm doing the Kabbalah Esrim. If you want to give him 20, Ela Malchus Aruyis L'Shtalish. You can only split it to 3. The Kamahin, Tamnisrei, which is 18. Zoktik Mar, what's the problem? Lemechaya Esrim Mechada. Give him 21 on the top of Yonam and Beis. Give him 21 Malchus. V'chimayis b'hachad d'leimus. Let him die in the last one. Who cares? You tell me it's a chelik of the Misa. And that the more answers. Why docking Malchus agabe the chayka Malchus? The 21th whack is still, the 21st one is still alive. And then he's going to die. Even after you give him the Malchus, you need it to still be the meaning alive. Achichi still needs to be a brother. Iber hachaydish b'shloisha. So we're not going to go too complex regarding Iber. We went through that very extensively during the Daf Yomi, exactly how Iber works, how we work with solar year, we work with lunar year, but we have, the Torah tells us, not like the Arabs, and Ramadan can happen all throughout the year. Sometimes Ramadan is in the summer, sometimes Ramadan is in the winter. However, the Torah tells us that we need to have Sukkot and Pesach is when? V'chaydish Aviv. Now, this whole year is 365 and a quarter, or 6th. Exactly what the year is. However, the lunar year is really 29 days, 12 hours, and 700 amount of chalakim. Chalakim is each one, 3/3 seconds, around 44 minutes, etc. However, the concept is that if we're not going to do which is mamash what the Arabs do, is that we don't do Iber year, they don't do that. They end up happening that all the Yamim Tovim, we would have Pesach sometimes now. If you go Basar, just the lunar year. So we did a Chaydish Iber. Same thing with a month. A month is really 29 days and 12 hours, etc. And a month, how are we going to do that? So we either make it a Shleisha, we make it a Chaser, we make it a Mole, etc. So we had to do it. There was a process how to do it. And we saw the Mishnah, they need to have Gimel Dayanim. Iber HaChaydish. Now, every month, this month we know, Rosh Chodesh is what? Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's considered a Mole. We have a full month. Rashi's Masbi can't do it more than 8 moles, because you can have more than 8 moles. The mole is going to come out 3 days different. People are going to think the calendar's off, etc., etc. So the halach is Ibra Chaydish. When you have to make a Chaydish was mole, you did it b'shleish l'dyanim. Zaktimar. Chishuv, like what we just discussed, the Shiloh, if you should make it or not, because if you're going to have too many, it's going to be a problem, like Tani. And Kiddush is they're going to say the Eidos HaChaydish to say when they saw the moon, like Tani. Ela Iber. So Zaktimar, Loi Lakacha, what are we handling? We're handling, you're telling me right now, let's say here, it's coming up Tuesday. Don't be Mekadesh it. And automatically by default, will be by default. What do you need to do it itself? You read it Kiddush HaChaydish. When you want to do Kiddush HaChaydish with the Eidim, you need to have Bishleisha. Tanya Me'achi Kiddush HaChaydish Ve'ibur Hashana, which is Adar base, is also Bishleisha Divrei Mer. Amar Rava's father says V'ha Ibur Ktani. Zok Rashi, so maybe one teva, not a teva, that we could accept, we could absorb. But to make a full mistake and say Iber versus Kiddush, how could that mean? We're changing the lashon, it was a mistake. Because of the kasha, Kiddush is beyond Iber, B'shleisha. When you do the Kiddush beyond Iber, it's going to be if it's when the 29th. Beyond Iber, it's not a problem. Shleisha. But after the 30th day, like a Kiddush, there's nothing to be Mekadesh. It happens on its own. Umani relazim etzadiki, the Tanai relazim etzadiki omer. Im loy ner b'zman, talking about the moon. Im Mekadesh and Isis shekrak hitchu b'shemayim. They already did in Shemayim. Have Nachman Amar Kiddush acher Iber b'shleisha. If you do it after the Iber Nechnami needs gimel beyond Iber, like a Kiddush. Umani, who's this? Plima he the tiny plima ama bismanoi a mekadsh, I say. However, shaloi bisman, if it's not the time, we are mekadesh the chaydish mekadsh and I say. And she does playing these up Rashi saying tzarich lasis chizuk l'davar. They came in its time. Rav Asher amalo loilam chishuk tani. Now my iber chishuk the iber is handling the iber not. I think about the mistiber shana tani nami iber chaydish. Zok the Mar Chishuv Chaydish and Kiddush Chaydish Lai. Who is this? Mani Relazi the Tani Relazi Aimer. Beim is mani. Whether it's the time in Shalem is mani Mekachin Isis Shenem, like it says in the pasuk. The Kiddush regarding the Yovel. Dafka the Yovel. The Kiddush Mishnasa Chamishim Shana. Shanim at the Mekadesh. Via the Mekadesh Chadash. Zok the Gemara Vaiter Shem Galil Aimer B'Shleisha. Tanya Kate said Amar Shem Gamliel. The way they did the Chaydish was very interesting. We saw it started 3, 5, 7. We said that Yudam Beis is going to be Masberis. So let's see. B'Shleisha Maschilin. You first even handle with 3 dayanim. Ubechamisha, after pass like the first reading, they say it makes sense to sit and handle it. Noisin v'noisin. The Gaimrim, the Taka Paskin is B'Shiva with 7 dayanim. Echad Oimer Leishev. What is the halacha when you even have a Shiloh 3 dayanim to sit and not? Echad Oimer Leishev. Vishnayim Oimer Shaloi Leishev. Yeah, 3 dayanim. 1 says yes, I think we should sit down and handle this, and 2 says don't even handle this. The halacha is Bato Yachid B'Mute. Shnayim Oimer Leishev. Echad Oimer Shaloi Leishev. What we do is Meisiv and Alain Oit Shnayim. This is what happens. Then B'Noisim B'Davar, which is 5. Shnayim. And then what is the halacha when you have a machlekes over there? Shnayim Oimer Tzricha v'Shloishim Oimer and Tzricha. There's no need to do Iber. Bato Shnayim Muta gets Bato. Shlosh Oimer Tzricha v'Shnayim Oimer Ein Tzricha. Then Meisiv and Alain Shnayim. Sheina Minyan Pachis Meshiva. So Zaktu Mar Hani Shlosh Chamisha v'Shiva connected me. So Pligabar Yitzchak Rav Nachmani. We have 3, 5, and 7. V'chadimu manu. Who's this? Rav Shimon ben Pazi. V'amilah. Someone that says Rav Shimon ben Pazi. V'chadimu manu Rav Yitzchak ben Nachmani. Chadama connected Birchas Kahanim. The first pasuk of Birchas Kahanim is Yirecha Hashem Yishmerecha, which is 3. Then we have the second pasuk, which is 5. Yair. And then we have Yisah, which is 7. The Chadam Shloisha Kenega Shomer Asaf, the gatekeepers. Chamishas Meroy Pnei Melech, the see the king. Shiva is Mamish the Mamish Roy Pnei Melech. And Rashi says it's Achashverosh. Taisus doesn't like this. How could he say Achashverosh? How can he go Kenega Sorry? But it's Gelulim. Zok Taisus Mefasher Ben Tama took him at In Chanami Sorry Yisrael. Tani Rav Yosef Hani Shloisha Chamishas B'Shiva. Same type of concept. We see this concept from Rabbi Yosef. Same type of thing. That Shloisha is Kenega Shomer Asaf Chamishim and Roy Pnei Melech, and Shiva is Roy Pnei Melech. Rabbi Yosef Ad the Inna my time alone Pirush Lo Marachi. Why didn't you tell me this? You know what he answers? Amalu Le'av Yidan the Tzirchusi. He never asked me. Me Ba'isa Mani Milsa V'Layam L'Chu. If you want to ask me, Shaila, ask me. I'll tell you. I don't have a problem. If you would have asked me, I would have told you clearly 3, 5, 7. Zok Mara Zman Nasi Tzarich. Now we're going to talk about the Iber Yar. We explained this, that you need to have an Adar Beis in order for Pesach. We're going to talk about it on the Beis and Aleph, how many Tanaim you need that we're going to do Iber Yar. And now, however, we're being massive that we're saying that if the person, in order to do the Iber Yar, the first thing you need to do was Elo Be Mizumanullah. That the Nasi would call you in the evening and say, come in the morning, we need 7 chevra to see if it makes sense to paskin to do Iber Yar or not. We're on the final daf, the Daf Yoda Aleph from an Aleph, the top line. The Gemara is going to talk about a little Gadzik Gemara of Maisim Shahaya. Very fascinating. Throughout the whole Amid. Maisim Gamliel Shamar, this is yesterday's daf. Hashkimu lo shiva la'aliyah, and the Ranas Mazmur were talking about what that he told as Gabbai, because it couldn't be him. So Shah, the Rama holds he had to do it. Ayin Sham Barichos, we're going to go to basic Mahalach that he told us Gabbai. So Ma'aseh lo Sham Hashkimu lo shiva la'aliyah, go get me 7. Up to the Aliyah, that's where they used to paskin. Rashi says that Aliyah HaMiyuchedes, where they would paskin. Hishkemu Matzah, he gets upstairs, you know what he sees? He sees 8 people. Mihu Shalosh Shalei Bershos has to go down Yered. It's only going to be 7. So Amar Shmuel HaKatan V'Amer Ani Hu Shalisi Shalei Bershos. I'm the one who got up Shalei Bershos. And why did I come? V'Leila Abrashon Alisi Elalilma D'Alacha L'Maiso Tzchachti. I wanted to see what the halacha is. Amalai. You know what Megillah tells Shmuel HaKatan? You can sit. Shave b'ni shave. Ru'uyas Kalashanim Kul Nesaba Yadcham. And the Scheiner and Masber and Taka, what happened? They didn't end up doing the Ibr Hashanah during that session because it couldn't be. There was 8, so they ended up handling schmoozing, whatever. There's a Shaila how what they ended up Lamaisa doing in order not to be Ma'aber the Shon. It wasn't Shmuel HaKatan. You know what happened? Machmas Kisufu Davad. He didn't want to be mevayish the person who wasn't called. Ki other Yosef Rabbi Vikadar, just like with Rabbi Ve'riach Reach Shom. Rabbi was giving a lecture and someone ate garlic and was staring everybody. So he says, Amar Mishach Hashem has to get up and leave. Yatza. So Amar Reb Chia gets up and he knew that everyone's going to follow him. V'yatza Am the Kulam v'yatzu. B'shacha Matr Hashem Rabbi L'Reb Chia. And he says, what's going on? He thought that he taka ate shum. Amar Le Atu Shitziat L'Abba V'ein the shum. Amar Le no. Le Teika Zeis B'Yisrael Chas V'Shalom. I never ate shum. Rather, I did it, no, not to be vayish, and that's what happened. Reb Chia is like tomorrow. Where did Reb Chia know to do this? Reb Chia meicha gamelo meir the Tanya ma'asav ishachas shabaso Bais Medrash Ohr meir. And what happened was Amalei Rabbi Echad Mikam Kacheni Bebiyah, which was a very big busha. Today we hold it's usher to be Mekadesh Bebiyah. And she said, whoever gave me a biyah, I either want to do the full nisuin afterwards because not complete, or give me a get, but let me out. So Amalei Rabbi Meir, because the get creases, and everyone knew it wasn't Meir, so they all chap to follow him. He learned the Shmuel HaKatan from the Ma'aseh on top of the Amid of Shmuel HaKatan. He's talking about that after the Chomer, what happened was they intermarried. Now Shechanya did not intermarry, but if you look at the pasuk, he ended up marrying Goyim. It says Vayan Shechanya ben Yechiel mipnei Elam. Vayomer LaEzra, and he tells Ezra, Anachnu, he counted himself as one of them. Anachnu ma'amnu v'elekeinu. V'noishev noshim nachriyas ma'am ha'aretz v'atos. The yesh mikvah Yisrael azayis. And we all know the Shechani didn't do it. So you see that he did it not to be mevayish everybody else. He learned this from Yeshua. The Chsev Vayomer Hashem El Yeshua, from the Ma'aseh Yeshua, the Rebbeinu Shalom, that we're talking about that Dasim Vavir with the man. Kum lech lamas ato nefel panachal chat Yisrael. Amal afanu Rebbeinu Shalom. So he asked Rebbeinu Shalom, Michata Amalai Vichi. The Alter Zot Rashi and Marachalani. Lech ato Garulos, and go figure it out. Be the same in Moshe the Chsev Ad Ana Me'antem. You should refuse all of them. Also Lashon of everybody. Kulam Bechlal Zot Rashi. Oh, so the second case, was with Dasim Vaviram, and the first case actually from Yeshua was not with Dasim Vaviram, rather was Ma'aseh the Achan. We know 36 people got killed because he had them stealing the loot, and they wanted to know who took the loot. And the Gemara says to make a girl, and it came out it was Achan. Rashi was Masber, that was the case. Mashenkin, the second case, he was same as from Moshe, which is Dasim Vaviram, to go figure it out. Zok the Gemara, Tana Rabbanim Mishemesu Nevim Achrayim, Chag Zachar Malachim Nistaku Ruach HaKodesh B'Yisrael V'Afa Bikain, Hoyu Mishtavshem V'Vasko. However, they said they didn't hear the Vasko itself. Pa'am Achazay Mesuvim Ba'aliyah Space Goria Be'erichai. V'Nasna Lein Basko Min HaShemayim. And they said Yesh Kan Echot Sheroy Shetishol of Shechina K'Moshe Rabbeinu She'ein Doyer Zaka L'Kach. Nasnu Chachamim V'Saneim Behil Zaka. They said it's him. K'Shemei Zamalov Hey Chassid Hey Anav. Look at such an Amah Tamidah Shel Ezra. Another Ma'aseh Shupam Achazay Mesuvim Ba'aliyah B'Yavne. V'Nasna Lein Basko Min HaShemayim. And they said Yesh Kan Echot Sheroy Shetishol of Shechina She'ein Doyer Zaka L'Kach. And who was this? Nasnu Chachamim V'Saneim Shmuel HaKatan. U'K'Shemei Zamalov Hey Chassid in Chanami, here's the Chassid in Anov, Tamida Shalhu. Now, for one, B'Shas Misasi, even Shmuel HaKatan, he gave Nevi'as of what? The Asura, Aruge Malchus, that we send Yom Kippur. And he said as follows. He says that Shimon v'Yishmael, we're going to learn this later in Sanhedrin, was Charava. We all know that he got killed, he was killed by Charev. The Chavroi, in Rashi's Masber, who is Chavroi? Rabbi Kiva, Rechanana, Meterir Yain, they got killed with other terrible misas l'katola. V'shara amalabiza, they're going to get this They're going to lose everything. We're going to get the spoils. The Akon Sagion, Asidin Lamesalam is going to be terrible tragedies for the rest of the world. The Yehuda ben Bava, Taka Bikshu Laimakain, they wanted to give him, he was one of the Sarah, Harugem, and they wanted to give him a good hospital, Shanit for Shah, because in order, the bunch of Mahalchim, exactly why you don't give his Speidim, Neir Samelech, Rashi says they buried him very quickly, Shem Aspidin, Halarugem Malchus. Tana Abanan, Eima Abra Mesashana, Ella and Cain, Yirtza Nasi, unless the Nasi gives Rishos. So Ma'aseh Gamliel, who was the Nasi, Shalach Lito Rishos, it's all Shulton, and Rashi says, for a different reason, communal affairs, he went to the Shulton, he got caught up, and they wanted to be Ma'abra Sashana, Ve'ibru Sashana, Al-Menash Yirtza. What they did was, they made a Tanai, Al-Menash Yirtza, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Ukashabar ben Gamliel, V'amar writes, and he Nimtza Shana Mubar. So the Taka made out tonight. Tana Rabbana, a Ma'abra Sashana, Im Cain, for example, we're hearing that we're talking about Oila Regal, they're not getting up in time. The Maisa, there's too much traffic. They said they realize it's getting too close to Pesach. We're going to have to be Ma'abed Shana. Ubnei Ksharim, the Ksharim were broken and they couldn't get through the bridges. Ubnei Tanurei Psachim, Rashi's Mazber, the Tanur where they used to cook. The Maisa, where they used to roast to come in Pesach, got soaked. And you needed the summer to dry it up. So you gave it another month. Again, they already left. Vada doesn't mean that the weather caused traffic, because that we just said. It means to say, just because it's cold, that didn't stop the oil from being oil regal. If you didn't leave yet, you didn't leave. We're not going to say, oh, you woke up late, let's push off the year. Rather, chas v'sholom, we don't do an ibayar. Whoever doesn't make it, it was their fault. Turn to Rabbana. For the goats, to loin for the sheep. The way it worked with the Korban Pesach, even at the register, and you used a big goat, the cheshbon that everyone could eat, because you wanted to maximize your potential. Now, what happens if they're very small? The halach is you're not going to get a full meal, but since the halach is it's good enough to kazayas, even a small goat is good enough, so they won't have a full meal. They'll be mekayim the mitzvah. So we don't push it off a month to wait for these goats to become fatter. Like they have more food. We're going to learn on base that if there's a few reasons, as long as there's two of them, we're going to make an ibayar. However, so we're going to use one of these reasons, we're going to see in a moment, that's going to be enough to add it to a primary to say, oh, with this together, 1 plus 1, we're going to be ma'abed l'shana. My dina nachna l'chayin. We're here to inform you. Your doves, your birds are tender. Your lambs are very thin. Which is the punchline. The time the grain of harvest is not here yet. You don't have a time right now. Vasifas, what are we going to do? Vasifas, al shata da klasi yayim, and therefore we're going to go do a ibriya. Meisvei kam ibashana shleishim yayim. There, Rav Shimon Gamliel, chaydish. What's chaydish? What's going on? Is it a chaydish or shleishim yayim? Rav Papa nichnami. Rotz if he wants chatatz yayim, do chaydish. Rotz if they want shleishim yayim. Zok the Gemara, so chazi ma'ika ben takifa like Gamliel was the earlier generation. He was considered the haughty, the tough. We're going to see. And Afa Pikein, who was more an anav of the later generation where people said, oh, today's generation were anavim. Why? Takifa kadmoi len vasanai le in Vasani Basroi, for the humble people in later generations. The Tanya. Ma'aser Gamliel, we're going to show us the Ma'aser Gamliel, which was an earlier, how he wrote the letters. He's sitting on the steps of the Harabais. And he has a sefer, Sholosh Igros Chatuchas Lefanov. He has 3 letters and Munachas, and he tells him, take a pen, I want you to start writing. Take 1 letter and write as follows. The Ksaif, Lachana B'nei Gilala, on the top of your alpha from a base. To my brothers, B'nei Gilala La, in the upper goal. Lachana B'nei Gilala said to Saw in the lower goal. Shul Mechain Yaska. You should have Shalom should increase with you. My Dina Nachnul Khan, we can hear to inform you. There's the man Bi'ura Mata. Now the 3rd year, the 6th year, we're talking about Shemitah. The halacha is you have time to do Ma'aser Sheni. But it's a deadline. And if you don't get to that deadline, you have no choice but to burn it. You have to, the Parashat Dvar, we talk about what you have to say, etc. But the point is, it's time to burn it. La Fushe Masara Mi Matana Dezesa. Over there, Rashi's Masber, that was the place where it was the Gullel. That's where they made all the olives. So they said, you got to hurry up already, start giving Meiser, because it's starting, the clock is ticking. That was where he wrote in Gullel. None of the letter and write as follows. Lachana Beid Deraima. to my brothers in the south. I'm telling you, should have shalom, should increase. This man biuramot. It's time for the beer. La frushe in the south. Rashi's masber there was over there was the grain. La frushe masrar ma'imri shiblai. It's time to take meiser from the grain. To take another letter. Shalom Chaim, you should have shalom forever. Medina nachnu chayin. The gazlaya rechichin. Your doves are young. V'mraya rikin, and your sheep are very small. Tender, etc. V'zimna daviva leimata. V'shifra milsa banpoi u'ba'ampe chavroi. Here it's very sharp. This is what we're trying to show us. The Gamliel over here, right, says, this is my opinion, and he throws in his colleagues, so what do you see? That even Rav Gamliel in his earlier generations, where he was considered somewhat of a haughty, of a balgaiva, you can't really use the lashon balgaiva, it was more of a moira or shrara. There we used the lashon. Over there he says his colleagues, but later on they didn't even mention their colleagues. And the Gemara says no. What happened was Rav Gamliel was very tough with Talmidim, so he ended up getting thrown off. They said you can't be anymore. Only Zak Rashi, after that experience, he became an Anav. Now he's an Anav. It's very easy when you're on top of the world, you can be tough. But after you experience, you become an Anav. Maybe it was during that time, that it was afterwards, therefore it's not a raya. Regarding the grain, we know it has to be during Nisan. Which is Shavuos of the Bikurim, which is the Tkufa, is Al Shanim. If there's two out of these three, you do Ibriyar. However, if let's say there's only one of them, however, we learned earlier that as long as there's one of them, it's going to help. One plus the scenario where, for example, the Ksham and V'chule, right? Sorry, however, if the Gdim are young, we count that 1 plus 1 and we will push it off and make it Ibriyar. However, everyone was happy that if it was the time of the Aviv that they pushed it off. There, mitam Chodesh and Yashin is a big shaila the Bach today. If there's Yashin in Eretz Yisrael, in Chutz La'aretz, but even in Eretz Yisrael where there was a Chodesh, they were happy like that. The Eimer was brought a month later. Therefore, it's much better. You have much longer time that it's going to be considered Yashin. Reb Shimon Gamliel al Tkufa. Reb Shimon just says al Tkufa. So you buy al Tkufa Samech, they were happy. Al Tkufa, even the just let the Kufa Allah Ma'abrin, the Gemara says take. Tara Rabbanan, Al-Shalosh Aratzis Ma'abrin Sashana. Has with Mitam Yehuda, Ve'var Golol, Ve'var Yardim V'Gol. However, Shtaim Ma'abrin, Alachas Ma'am Ein Ma'abrin. Ubizman, they used Yehuda. Yehuda was one of the people that were late. Everyone was happy because the Rashi's Maz, but the Eimer came, most of the Eimer came from Yehuda, that place. ובזמן שיהודה אחס מהם הקוסמכן שאינם יבוא דאי מורכם אל מיהודה תנא רבנן מאמרס השניים אל ביהודה ואם עברו בגולו it's muberes אם מאמרס השניים אל ביהודה however אם עברו בגולו if they were the shana and golo muberes hey Chanani is aynoi אם עברו בגולו אינו muberes he holds even the evidence is not going to be with the brother of Shimon Pazi my time the Chanani is aynoi it says even with the evidence not going to work on the cross says l'shechnoi pardon? L'shechnoi tidushu uvasa shama. When my dwelling place, my shechinoi should be dayrish. Dafka over there, you should do it called rishish at the dayrish layiyu elo dafka b'shechina shamaka, and therefore it's not going to work. Which is Yehuda, which is your shalayim. Rashi says, therefore it's not going to work even begol. Tana Rabbanan. Hey, ma'abrin sashana elo b'yoyim. It has to be dafka during the day. V'im rivru b'layla einu muberes. V'im mekachet s'chaydish elo b'yoyim v'kachur b'layla einu mukadesh. Like we all know regarding Rosh Hashanah, what does it say? Tiku b'chaydesh shayfer b'keseh, where it's cloud. We all know Rosh Hashanah is the first day. There's no moon whatsoever. What's it say? Ki chayk li'Yisrael hu mishpat le'likei Yaakov. That what? Just like we all know, din ma mishpat has to be b'yayim. Av kiddush chaydesh has to be b'yayim. Next week we're going to pick up with Tanu Rabbanan and Ma'avrin Hashanah.